The Wonderful World of Darklords. Report 40. Wonka's Chocolate Factory. As soon as I saw the golden ticket in my hands, I knew what it meant. I had heard the stories. Some might not have known the significance of the ticket, or might even have thought themselves fortunate for receiving it, but I knew better. I can barely remember my early years in Port Lucine before moving to Salem, but my parents had instilled in me a powerful sense of how poisonous an invitation could be, and the golden ticket was a prime example. Although, I admit, one that I had always believed to be a fanciful cautionary tale for Damonlou's social climbers rather than something based in reality. I suppose I should have known better. At any rate, I knew that I had no choice but to travel to Wonka's Chocolate Factory. If I entered the mists before retiring for the night, they would carry me to the factory gates. If I did not, I would awaken there the following morning. Discarding or destroying the golden ticket would not help me, as it was non-transferable. So, I decided that the best course of action was to enter the factory on my own terms. I would prepare myself as best I could, then walk into the mists and hope for the best. I emerged to a bouquet of mouth-watering aromas. Caramel, mint, orange peel, hazelnuts, vanilla, marzipan, and most of all, chocolate. The padlocked iron gates stood behind me, and before me was a massive brick factory, whirring with the music of machinery and pouring out sweet-smelling smoke. In the windows, tiny silhouettes moved about. Children? Halflings? From outside, it was impossible to say. I briefly considered trying to fly over the gates or drift through them in gaseous form, but no. In all likelihood, the borders of the factory were secured with something more impregnable than any gate, and an attempt to breach them would be a waste of magic that I could not afford to squander. If there was a way out of here, I would find it within the factory. I could not get out by going backwards. I had to go forward to go back. Squaring my shoulders, I entered the great red door to Wonka's Chocolate Factory.
Welcome to Wonderful World of Darklords. I'm Tom.
I'm Rachel.
And we're discussing how to convert Disney movies to Ravenloft domains of dread, except when you decide we're not. And there's no earthly way of knowing which direction we are going.
Along the way, we'll look at the Darklord, the domain itself, and some plot hooks and adaptation ideas to integrate this setting into your own campaign.
Today's episode, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, if you're going with the book.
Yes, we have a lot of somebody in the Chocolate Factory. Someone, alliterative name.
This is Chocolate Factory. And
yeah, we, as the name I initially gave might have clued in, we are mainly drawing from the 1970s Gene Wilder movie that is titled Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. But we are going to be bringing in some stuff mostly from the book that was not in that movie. It was different from that movie. So, now that we've kind of worked out the very complicated what exactly are we doing, though you know what we're talking about. Number one, congratulate us. Happy episode
congratulate us.
40.
Woohoo!
Woo! Episode 40, and this is a fun fact you told me.
Yes, D has now officially done twice as many domains as S did in the Ravenloft Gazetteers. There are 20 core domains, and this is our 40th domain, so...
Eat a butt, Art House Publishing. And second, no matter what specific alliterative person name and the Chocolate Factory piece of media we're doing, this is, as you might have noticed, true about all of them, not a Disney movie. Mm-hmm. Because this is our Listener's Choice episode. We always run the Listener's Choice poll in April into May, and November is when we do the actual episode.
Because it is our Thanksgiving adjacent episode, and we are thankful for
you,
our listeners. You guys are so awesome. Like, seriously, I cannot believe we have such cool listeners, and we are really thankful for you, and Thanksgiving lets us celebrate you.
And a lot of you wanted that. A lot of our listeners wanted this one.
This one by a landslide.
By a lot, yeah. This won the poll by a lot. So, I'm going to be honest, I was watching the poll as it's going on, and I kind of was like, oh, not this one. I hope something else wins. Like, I hope something else pulls ahead, something else wins.
Not just because it would have given us an excuse to watch Kubo again.
Yes, which I'm always happy to have. But I was specifically like, it wasn't even that there was something else I wanted more. As much as it was, I kind of didn't want to do Willy Wonka, and that was because, like, I'm like, it's just going to be a Robot Chicken sketch, it's just going to be a Family Guy sketch, it's just going to be like, Willy Wonka murders the children, and the Oompa Loompas are slaves. It's, like, very, like, hacky comedy.
Yeah, and even if you're playing that straight for horror, like, that is legit horrifying, but at the same time, it's been done.
We're not so it was kind of bringing anything.
Yeah, that it is legitimately a good horror setting, but, like, kind of it's so obviously a good horror setting that, like, we didn't know what we could do that would be new and interesting.
Like, you know, if any of you listening right now, if I'm like, all right, take 5 minutes and come up with a Willy Wonka horror setting, you'll come up with all that. Because that's, like, right there.
Yeah.
And, like, what else could we do? Like, what else could we do that's kind of authentic to the material, but isn't the obvious Robot Chicken sketch, Evil Willy Wonka? How can we do Evil Willy Wonka in a unique way?
Yes.
And first, Rachel was like, well, maybe we could have it, like, really take a lot from Roald Dahl's childhood, because he had a not, as you probably could have fathomed, I guess, he had a not great childhood.
Yeah, because the poll was happening, and it was a Lent, and so I was rereading the Chronicles of Narnia for Lent, and getting into how much C.S. Lewis hates school.
That man loves Jesus and hates school.
And I was thinking about, like, well, you know, Roald Dahl also hated school. Like, I have not read Boy yet, but from what I would understand, if you read Boy, that man hates school. And so there could be something interesting there with, you know, Roald Dahl did go through this whole twisted British school system and came out this appalling misanthrope. So maybe we could do something like that for Willy Wonka. And that was something. That was something. We didn't hate that idea.
But then we had an idea that got me really, really excited. So you're like, oh no, we made Tom do a thing he didn't like. We did come up with an idea, and by we I mean Rachel.
Tom ended up more excited about this than I was.
That made me really excited to do that.
So yeah, another thing that was going on at about this time, you know, not just me listening to Chronicles of Narnia, but also our youngest got really into Poppy Playtime.
Right.
Like, he can't play Poppy Playtime, he's too young to play Poppy Playtime, but he is so interested in the lore. It's that whole, like, little kid where they see the spooky thing and they want to learn as much as they can about the spooky thing, and then his parents are, like, seeing how close you can let them get before they start having nightmares.
I have very clear memories of, like, you know, growing up in Freddy Mania, and in the library, there was, like, you know, summarizing horror movies for kids book series, and there was one that's Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I have to get that, because that kind of, like, lets me get up to the edge of Freddy, but I know I'm not ready for Freddy, but I can, like, how close can I get? Going to the video store and reading, like, the back covers of the Freddy movies and being traumatized.
And our version of that for our youngest was their Easter presents were all books, and his was a book about the lore of Poppy Playtime.
Yes.
And I was reading it to him, you know, as a mother does for her 6-year-old, reads a book about killer toys. And there was all this stuff about the toy factory and how it got shut down and everything, and it was clear at this point that Willy Wonka was going to be our listener's choice. It was kicking butt. And I was reading this and I'm like, this whole abandoned evil factory thing really feels like Willy Wonka. Hold the phone. We could do Willy Wonka as a Mascot horror domain.
Yes. And that got me so excited, because this is kind of letting us do something beyond the obvious Family Guy's Evil Willy Wonka sketch. And it lets us, like, explore this genre of horror that we've never explored before, because it is a very new, like, subgenre of horror, which is Mascot horror.
Yeah, and that it has no Disney connections at all.
Yes.
And honestly, not even really any animated property connections at all. Like, so even for when we do other movies in April, we're not going to be doing, like, FNAF in April.
Yeah.
So this is a really, really exciting thing for us. And, you know, as we're going to talk about when we talk about what makes Mascot horror, there are a lot of really good, like, Ravenloft parallels and overlappings with Mascot horror. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, we're going to be talking a bunch more. If you're like, Mascot what now? Poppy who now? We are going to be talking more about this thing we are calling Mascot horror a little later on in the episode.
If you're very confused, you've probably heard of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, it's that thing.
Yeah.
So, let me pause a second and say we are aware I heard something about how there's this, like, pretty well-known, deeply problematic adventure that's like Evil Willy Wonka Factory. I can't even tell you what it's called. I know it exists. I didn't Google it. I have no desire to Google it. Just, like, if you need me a disclaimer there, here's officially a disclaimer. Yeah,
just we're not drawing anything from that at all. We know nothing about it. There's not going to be any references to it. We are not affiliated with it in any way. Just go on living your lives not knowing it exists.
Finally, disclaimer number 2. We mention in our overview of content warnings, we generally shy away from child endangerment, and we let you know if there's an episode where that isn't the case. We are letting you know. This is an episode where that is the case.
Yeah, like, horrible things happen to children
Like,
in Willy Wonka's factory.
Yeah, I mean, you probably went into this with a decent inkling that there's going to be some child endangerment and trauma.
Like, awful things happen to children, body horror things happen. We're letting you know right now, Violet Beauregard is still, like, a half-human, half-blueberry monstrosity.
Uh-huh.
And, like, I know we have at least one listener who really does not like when body horror leads to ego death. There is that here, too. The body horror transformations are going to wreak havoc on their identities. So...
Yep, heads up. Fair warning.
And for children. So, yeah, all of that. Throwing that out there. Turn it off now if you don't want that.
Yeah, we're not going to be forefronting a lot in our description that the fact that they're children, we're kind of leaving that to be known because we're talking about characters from a very widely known book and movie. So if you just want to pretend Veruca Salt is an adult, or even do a version of this where Veruca Salt is an adult, Assault Adult, Veruca Adult can be your name in her game. Go ahead. Like, we're not going to be like, and then there's crazy mutant Mike TV, who is a child, and he got shrunk, and this thing happened when he was a child. So, yeah, like, if you can bracket that, then I think you could still enjoy a lot of the episode. But heads up.
Yes.
Fair warning. So, now we have talked about how a lot of our inspiration came out of that Mascot horror Five Nights at Freddy adjacent game Poppy Playtime, which is about an evil factory. And now let's talk about the William Afton to our spooky factory.
Grandpa Joe?
He is the worst. Let's talk about Willy Wonka, or as I am calling him in the DM's Guild write-up, Willy McDuff.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Are you experienced? In a section we like to call...
The Lord. The Lord. Legend has it that once, Willy Wonka was the most brilliant and beloved chocolatier in whatever land he called home. An accomplished wizard, Wonka used his arcane abilities neither for the pursuit of personal power nor for some monumental benefit to society, but to create whimsical and wondrous confections. Some of these were as simple as candies that never became sticky in the hand or that changed flavors as one ate them. Others were, in essence, particularly delicious potions, with minor magical effects on those who consumed them. Rumor had it that Wonka was developing ever more innovative chocolates that would push the boundaries of potion crafting, but before that could happen, rival confectioners began bribing his workers to give them his secrets. Enraged, Wonka shuttered his factory, which was soon claimed by the Mists. All of the workers disappeared along with it, and their families assumed them dead. Having learned what truly became of those workers, I hope no one disabuses them of that notion. A most peculiar thing happened after the factory vanished, however. Wonka chocolates and candies continued to appear in sweet shops, in general stores, even in the cupboards of ordinary people who had never purchased them. No one ordered or delivered them, they simply materialized. These sweets were as delicious as ever and retained their whimsical magical properties. Although one might suspect a mad chocolatier of attempting to poison his customers, I learned that Wonka still takes his mission of spreading sugared joy quite seriously, and only releases candies after extensively testing their safety. Of course, he also seems to believe that there's an eager market for candies that will grow one's toes to the length of one's fingers, so these approved effects are sometimes dubious. While the sweets themselves may not have been dangerous, however, a small number of them contained the dreaded golden tickets. Wonka, it seems, is searching for a successor, or perhaps simply an audience for his genius, and anyone who discovers a golden ticket is drawn to his factory. As of yet, not one of them has ever come out.
So, if you are in any way plugged into sort of American pop culture of the last, 50 years, you in some context know who Willy Wonka is.
I mean, I even know, 2 middle or elementary schools that we know students who attend them have put on Willy Wonka as their school musical. Even if it's just as your kid played an Oompa Loompa, you know who Willy Wonka is.
It is possible you know who Willy McDuff is if you are extremely online and enjoy Schadenfreude. But we said that he is the Darklord of our factory, not just the president, CEO, whatever. And you might have just clicked on this because the thought of Ravenloft to Willy Wonka is interesting. But you might not know what a Darklord is. Rachel, What is a darklord?
Well, a darklord is an evil being who commits some kind of act of ultimate darkness that causes the dark powers to say, why, hello, new friend, we want to play with you forever. And so they pluck that evil being up and they place them in a domain which is a special hell tailor-made just for them. There are some really great darklords. There are some really not so great darklords. So we are going to talk about the 4 qualities that separate the Strahd von Zaroviches from the Malus Scleruses.
Yes!
It's an industrial hellscape.
Yeah. There's a chocolate river.
Yeah. Only in no sense it probably actually is poop.
Yes. It
So,
just look like poop.
we are going to talk about the 4 qualities that separate the Strahd von Zaroviches from the Malus Scleruses. And the first of those 4 qualities is that act of ultimate darkness. They do a specific evil thing that draws the dark powers' attention. They don't just kind of become a dark lord through attrition. And in Strahd's case, it was that he killed his brother because he wanted to get with his brother's fiancée. The second element is what they call in Van Richter's Guide to Ravenloft the Torment, because we're a Disney podcast usually. We call it they got what they wanted, they lost what they had. In Strahd's case, it's congratulations, your brother's out of the way, you got eternal youth, so you're not too old for Tatiana anymore, but you're too Strahd for Tatiana, and you always will be. Our third element is an element of tragedy or relatability. They're not just evil for the sake of being evil, there's something about them that makes us wince in sympathy, or, it's not something goofy like Malus Sclerus, where his dad was a druid who loved nature more than him, and so now he's going to be a Captain Planet villain.
He hugged trees, but never his son.
And in Strahd's case, it's that unrequited love is just the worst. And then our fourth element is the domain reflects the Dark Lord or the curse in some way. Strahd is the Dark Lord of Barovia, which is spooky gothic vampire land. He is not the Dark Lord of the Chocolate Factory. And Barovia reflects that curse of loneliness as a boring mud slump, so there's no one there who can be like an intellectual equal to him, even if he did ever give up on Tiana.
So, some of those you might have already looked at with Willy Wonka, but a lot of those we kind of need to go in and give you our version of the backstory. And so we are imagining Willy Wonka, or Willy McDuff, that he was a wizard, an alchemist, and he had specific gift and calling to make candy. Hey, Wonka's a candy man. Well, yeah, fish white wings or bird white flies. He was born to make candy.
Candy man.
That's probably going to be in the write-up, that quote.
Probably.
So he made candy. He loved candy, and he would make magical candy. He would use his magical gifts, his alchemical genius, to make the most extraordinary candies in the world. This was his life's work, this was his legacy, and this was his obsession. And the other candy makers would send spies as workers, or would bribe workers at his factory in order to steal his magical secrets. And this was driving him crazy. This is that kind of protectiveness of someone who invented something. And he is getting increasingly paranoid. And then one day he snapped, and this brings us to our act of ultimate darkness. He gave all of the workers these cursed cacao beans, which turned them into brainwashed drones that he whimsically named Oompa Loompas.
Yes.
Or Wonky Doodles.
If you're completely in the weeds with Willy McDuff and the Wonky Doodles, if you've heard of the Glasgow Wonka experience, that's what we're referencing. If you haven't, Google it. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Enjoy the Schadenfreude. There's not going to be any meth in this episode.
Yes. So this happens. He seals the gates. He traps the Oompa Loompas into a life of eternal servitude and absolute loyalty. He never has to worry about anyone stealing his recipe, stealing his secrets again. The mists rise up around the factory and bring it into Ravenloft. And he still, we are imagining, wants to send out candy because he's a candy man. And he is making all these amazing candies, and he wants to send them out to people. And he's able to use magic to just send them out through teleportation systems.
Yes.
They'll just appear in store shelves or in people's cupboards or on people's tables. Wonka stuff will just appear.
It's like the carnival flyers.
Exactly.
It just appears everywhere, yeah.
And he is getting older. He's seeing those gray hairs in the mirror. And he's like, I want a successor. I want someone to continue my legacy. Because if I die, this all just falls apart. And I'm just a memory. And what was the point of all?
Yeah, and even though he's a wizard, he's not going to become a lich because liches don't eat candy. So he wants to be able to enjoy chocolate up to his dying breath.
So he does send out these golden tickets that sometimes you could eat Wonka bars, you could eat scrumdiddlyumptious bars, and most of the time it's just normal candy, but every now and again, especially with children, they'll open it and find a golden ticket in there. And when they do, the next night they disappear.
And you mentioned, like, that you're going to put this in the write-up. I love this image of in domains where people know about this. It's like, no matter how hungry you are,
yes,
like starving children might see a Wonka bar lying in the street. No, don't pick it up. Don't pick it up.
It is better to starve than to open a Wonka bar.
Yes, whereas other domains, they have no idea.
Yep. But you get the golden ticket, you disappear, and you end up in the factory. And he will put you through a series of tests to see if you are worthy to be his successor. And no one ever has passed or ever will pass, which kind of brings us to our torment. He got what he wanted, he lost what he had, so he got what he wanted. He doesn't need to worry about spies, but all of this was about his legacy, and now his candy's a curse. Now he's hated. Now, once again, children will starve rather than open Wonka bars.
Yeah, like, it's not just that he loved the candy for its own sake, he loved the joy that it brought to people, and now it just brings fear. And that's not what he wanted, but that's what it is. So he got what he wanted, but he lost what he had.
We are also imagining his paranoia hasn't gone away.
No.
Like, he does have perfect security. And he has these, like, hallucinations of this thing called the unknown. This, like, shadow being called the unknown. And what the unknown actually is the Oompa Loompas' free will pushing against his spells. Like, that's what it actually is sort of the manifestation of the free will and the torment and the anguish of the enslaved Oompa Loompas. But he sees this, and he's like, oh, it's some kind of rival candy maker that lives in the walls of my factory.
Yes!
Even though that's nonsensical gibberish.
Like, Slugworth has somehow come into the walls of my factory.
Yes.
Or is, like, sending an unseen servant to spy on me, but I can see it somehow.
Right, isn't that, like, kind of the definition of paranoia of, like, I'm really paranoid about rival candy makers stealing my recipes, and one of them is a shadow living in the walls of my factory. Like, so he has, like, perfect security. He has absolute control over the factory, over the Oompa Loompas. People only come in because he lets them in. No one goes in, no one goes out. It is a paranoiac's fantasy world. But no, he still has the rival candy maker living in the walls of the factory.
I can even see, since it's like kind of the rebellious spirits of the Oompa Loompas that have kind of been crushed and turned into this form, I could see it deliberately trolling him.
Yes.
Because the Oompa Loompas want to troll him. Just, this is the only way that they can have any fun anymore, is by trolling the guy who destroyed their lives.
He uses the golden ticket system because with the Oompa Loompas, he just has drones. Like, he needs a free-willed being. He needs someone that has that spark, that imagination, that full access to their human facilities. And he specifically wants a child because he wants to be able to mold them to do things his way.
My gosh, that line is so creepy.
Yeah, right.
Just, he wants a child because a grown-up will do things their own way, but a child he can mold to, oh gosh.
That's the book. That's not us.
No,
like,
that's the book. That's the book. It's not the movie either. It's the book. It's straight from Roald Dahl.
If I brought in a grown-up, they would want to do things their way. So I had to bring in a child who would do things my way. Because kind of what he ultimately wants is just someone to be him, but more.
And then the problem with that, too, is that, like, if he ever were to find a child who he thought would be a worthy successor, like, let's say that he found a Charlie, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
In our version, spoilers, in our version, Charlie, like, got struck down after the fizzy lifting drinks. But, like...
Charlie got a little Oompa Loompa song after about drinking and burping.
But, like, if he did have a Charlie who made it to the end, then one of two things would happen. In both cases, it would go great for a while. But then, either Charlie would start having a few too many of his own ideas.
Oompa Loompa Doopa-dee-doo, he goes in the trash can.
Because, you know, Wonka wants somebody who's a genius and can continue his work because they're a genius. But if they're a genius, then they're going to want to do things their way.
Yes.
Or the other way things can go, Charlie is completely boring and unimaginative and docile and does whatever Willy Wonka tells him to do and can't come up with any ideas on his own. Oompa Loompa Doopa-dee-doo. He goes in the trash can because Willy Wonka is quite rightfully imagining the future in which he's dead and can no longer hold this Charlie's hand. And it's not good.
Yeah.
So, there is no way to give this man what he wants.
Exactly. It is, you could say, tormenting him. And so we're imagining, like we said, our version, there was no twist with Charlie. He got Oompa Loompa'd after the fizzy lifting drink thing. And it's the whole, he brings you in and he says he's testing to find a worthy successor. But fundamentally, he does not truly believe there is a worthy successor. So everyone is being set up to fail.
Yes.
Like, everyone is being deliberately set up to fail. He will come up with these, like, the most crazy, moralistic, strict rules. And if you deviate from them in the slightest, he'll say, well, you don't deserve it.
Yes.
You don't deserve it. You're not good enough. And so, like, every day he wakes up and has no successor, and it's like, is my legacy going to die with me?
Yeah. And this is one where, like, I know that there's usually the Darklord stasis. Willy Wonka might be one where you might want to go back to, like, 3rd edition, 2nd edition, where he is actively aging.
Yes,
every day he's getting a little grayer.
One more gray hair, yeah. So then we get the element of tragedy and relatability. And, like, once again, first off, legit, he was wronged. He was being spied on. He was being robbed. He gets that infuriating, everybody was stealing his homework and copying it. And he was coming up with, like, amazing new ideas, and then people were just, like, churning out copies.
Yeah.
And legit infuriating. And this, like, the deeper, I think, psychological thing that's interesting here that is almost certainly not going to come up in play. Is the concept of he's the control freak. And it's the whole, I keep saying it's his legacy. That this is his legacy. And that whole, you spend your life building a legacy, you kind of build an empire. And then you can't let it go.
Yeah.
And that dooms it. Where, like, he'll never have a worthy successor. So if he were to die, it would be over. It would just be Wonka Chocolates would be a memory. Or even if he had a successor that did everything the way he wanted to, they would just be churning out the same thing. They would never be innovative. It'd be
Ratatouille.
Exactly.
They'd be doing the Wonka freezer meals.
Exactly. Or even if they're doing the exact same thing, it's like, okay, there's no innovation. There's no creativity. There's nothing new coming out of Wonka Chocolates. We're just playing the hits forever.
It was actually, while we were outlining it, it was making me think of Boy and the Heron. And I understood very little of that movie.
That's a trip of a movie, yeah.
I enjoyed every minute that I watched.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, but I did not understand it.
We were like, maybe there's a domain here, and we're like, unclear. Is there a domain here? Unclear.
But one thing that I definitely did understand about it was that Miyazaki is really struggling with what happens to Ghibli after he dies.
Yes.
And, like, he's not going to become a Darklord unless he maybe already is. Unclear. But
unclear.
But, it's a thing that I'm sure every brilliant creative person has to deal with.
I mean, that is the entire, as I understand it, plot of Succession. And that is, there's a million stories about this, and some of them are symbolic empires like companies, and others are literally empires. There have been so many times in history that someone has built an empire and then clung on to it so long that it then fell apart after their death.
It's King Lear with chocolate.
Yes, exactly. And then, finally, we have the domain reflecting the Darklord's personality or curse. It's candy!
It's candy! The Candyman can! It's a world of pure imagination.
And yeah, like, it's a world of pure imagination. Like, I love this. This is why we talked about how, weirdly, you can look at this sideways and see a lot of classic Ravenloft Gothic. That, like, the factory is his inner world.
Yes.
Right? Like, when he is letting them into his factory, he is kind of letting them into his heart.
Yes.
And we've talked about how that's, in our opinion, one of the hallmarks of the Gothic is that sort of you have this place that is the kind of Gothic villain tempter's world. So, like, to use very common examples, you have Dracula's castle.
Yes.
Dracula's castle isn't just the castle Dracula happens to be in. It's like, no, this is like you're going into his world. You're going into his reality.
Yeah.
Or the Phantom of the Opera's lair.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, yes.
This isn't just a sub-basement that he found and squatted in. Christine is going into kind of his heart. Like, this is his heart. And in the same way, this factory is his heart. He completely controls the space. It has his whole vicious, very moralistic, very, strict sensibility. The workers, the Oompa Loompas, literally sing little songs about the naughty children getting deservedly punished.
Because he's so great and is a just God.
Yes. He literally controls, the bodies of the people that come in terms of, like, he kind of does the Gothic, the external ends up reflecting the internal.
Yeah. Wow, that is super
right? It just occurred to me of, like, they sin and their bodies then are transformed into grotesques to display their sinful souls under his just judgment.
Yes.
He makes creations there. He makes his candy there. This is a world where of pure imagination. In the movie, there's a line where all of my dreams become reality and some of my realities become dreams. And just, this is his world. Like, this is, honestly, of every domain, this might be the purest the domain reflects the Darklord.
Yeah, other than WandaVision. Yes, which is a literal, reality bubble. But you get that in every iteration of this story, the factory kind of is his WandaVision, his Westview, his reality bubble. So that is sort of our look at the psychology, the way it reflects his psychology. And now we have how do we think about him in context of Dungeons & Dragons. And so in Verity's Guide to Ravenloft, it always says they have stats similar to A, and then something from the Monster Manual. And here I'm going to say Archmage. Yes.
That he is this incredibly powerful spellcaster in D&D terms, but that all of his stuff's candy-themed, and that a lot of it is using the factory. Like, the machinery of the factory is his material components.
Yes.
So, if he were to cast Magic Missile at you, it wouldn't be he points a wand and little lasers fire at you. It would be he pushes a button and, walnuts shoot out of a tube and hit you for 1d4 plus 2 damage each.
Yes. And cannot miss.
Right, yeah.
If he were to fireball you, then it wouldn't be that, he points a scroll at you and casts fireball. It would be that, he pushes the button on the oven that melts the chocolate.
Yes.
And a fireball bursts out.
Shoots a gout of flame
or
at you, yeah.
The super spicy cinnamon chocolate.
Exactly, yes. The Red Hots.
Yes.
Explode and burn you with how spicy they are. In terms of his specific powers as a Darklord, we're saying, obviously, he controls the space. This is basically the factory.
The lair actions this man has, my gosh.
The factory is, almost an extra-dimensional space. And there definitely are parts of it that are in the physical material plane, but there are also parts of it that are basically in an extra-dimensional pocket universe.
Yeah.
The layout doesn't make physical sense. This is not something where you could ever, physically map it. And he can rearrange it. He can make it be that the chocolate room psychedelic boat ride goes to the invention room, or he could make it be it goes to the fudge room.
Yeah.
Or he could make it be it goes to the marshmallow room. Also, of course, as we mentioned, he has absolute control of the Oompa Loompas.
Yes.
They are his drones. He plays that little flute, and they do whatever he wants. They are just worker bees. He is the queen bee, they are the worker bees. They have no will or identity of their own.
Yeah. Tell me an individual Oompa Loompa into the rule, and
He knows if you broke a rule. This is part about the factory reflecting his strict moralistic sensibility. If you break a rule, he just knows it. And the Oompa Loompas know it too. And if you break one of his rules, you have disadvantage on saves.
Yes.
Because with that kind of moralistic world, that you are sort of proving yourself worthy of punishment, and the saves are going to be to not have some kind of hideous Willy Wonka punishment. And also, we are imagining his candy he makes functions as potions. And weirdly enough, taking from my Vada Baritsi in Van Richten's Guide, he can...
You're going to be hearing that again later, by the way.
He can spend a spell slot and make candy for any spell.
Yes.
Not just the ones that normally have potions. He can take any spell and make a candy that does that spell.
Yes. So, you want to do... I've just been looking at Warlock spells for obvious reasons. You want to do Shadow of Moyle, congratulations. He has the ultra dark chocolate that you eat, and then you cast Shadow of Moyle on yourself.
So it's basically like he's scribing spell scrolls, but he has unlimited resources to make those spell scrolls.
Yes. No, Dee does not have Shadow of Moyle. I love her to death, but she cannot maintain concentration that long.
And then finally, the power that all Darklords have, except for a couple we've made up, who like to be weird and high concept.
And OG Vlad Dracov.
And that is closing the borders. And this is easy. We always say we love when there's like a closing the borders moment in the movie, and there's no one ever goes in, no one ever gets out. The borders are permanently closed. No one gets in, no one gets out, except you are taken there by the mist if you get a golden ticket.
Yes.
That is in this section in the write-up. There's mist tokens. I have to come up with 3 or 4. It's like, no, there's one thing, golden ticket. One.
And this is not a token that will sometimes get you to the domain.
No.
It's a token that is automatically, next time you fall asleep or walk into the mist, you're going
to the factory. And then in terms of going out, of course, the golden ticket doesn't take you out. Once again, a quote you're probably going to hear from us again, if nothing else. You can't go back. You have to go forward to go back, or something like that, is the Wonkavator.
Yes.
The Wonkavator.
/ the Great Glass Elevator for the book readers. There is an elevator in the factory. Book readers, I see you. I validate you. I too read the book first. So I'm here.
That's you. You are loved. You are seen. Anyway, whatever you call it, there is an elevator in the factory. The elevator can go anywhere, and that includes out of the domain. And once again, if you know D&D, if you're familiar with it, you probably have twigged to the fact that this factory is going to be an amazing dungeon.
Heck yeah.
And that's kind of our whole thing, is this domain's basically a dungeon.
Because, again, Mascot horror. Mascot horror settings are amazing dungeons, and that's what we're doing here.
And the goal of the dungeon, the sort of final boss fight, ultimate reward, is the elevator. Like, that's the thing. You are going through the dungeon to get access to the elevator to leave the dungeon. It's the only way to leave the dungeon. So, the final thing in our section on Willy Wonka / Willie McDuff is in Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. There's always the role-playing trait, ideal, bond, and flaw. They always do these as quotes, and they can just make up whatever quotes they want, but we like to use actual quotes, even when it's a bear or Callahan.
Almost as bad as a bear.
Fortunately, unlike Callahan, Willy Wonka sure likes to talk.
So, we're doing the thing that we do for a lot of our Darklords who sure like to talk. Like, Jack Skellington, my gosh, if we just had a list of all the Jack Skellington quotes, he would have been here all night. So, Tom and I have each picked a quote, and again, book readers.
Yes.
I see you.
You are loved.
I validate you. I love you. Tom has chosen quotes from the movie. I have chosen quotes from the book. We'll see how they overlap.
Yes.
But we will each give our pitch for the trait, ideal, bond, and flaw, and go from there.
So this is really a reverse Callahan situation. We have an embarrassment of riches here. And it's a very, well-written both book and movie, and Willy Wonka really likes to talk. So, as Rachel mentioned, I'm going to open my quotes, which I'm taking from the 1970s movie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So, imagine me, sarcastic Gene Wilder, from the meme, looking these quotes.
This is going to be interesting, because we're going to have, similar but different takes on Willy Wonka, since I'm taking the quotes from the book. So, but I figured we wanted to have both represented.
So, just to jump right in, first off, our role-playing trait. Well, 2 naughty, nasty little children gone. 3 good, sweet little children left.
I like that a lot.
That's a real good one, isn't it?
Good one.
Do you want to do your role-playing?
I think that's what
you want to go
do.
through. Yeah, go.
Yeah. The trait that I had is, it always happens like that. I've tried it 20 times in the testing room on 20 Oompa Loompas, and every one of them finished up as a blueberry. It's most annoying. I just can't understand it.
That's good, too. Yeah. That's horrifying. just casually horrifying.
He's like, no, this doesn't bother him at all. This seems totally normal.
Ideal I had. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to, do it. Want to change the world? There's nothing to it.
Yeah, yours is better. Because as I was going through trying to find his ideal, I'm looking through, I'm like, there's nothing in here that's better than the lyrics of Pure Imagination.
Yes. Pure Imagination, just like this is... His ideal is this world of pure imagination.
Yes.
This world where all of his dreams become reality and some of his realities become dreams.
Yes. The one I had was, do you like my trees and my lovely bushes? Don't you think they look pretty? I told you I hated ugliness, and of course they are all edible, all made of something different and delicious. And do you like my meadows? Do you like my grass and my buttercups?
That's very good, yeah. So that might
needy.
So neat. I could see that even as a bond of the
that's a
bond
thought.
of the neediness.
That's a thought.
Of the I kind of need people to tell me how great my work is.
That's actually a really good idea. I like that better than the bond that I have. Which is extremely straightforward. It's how I love love my chocolate factory. Like, you know, it gets the job done, but it's very personal.
I had for the bond, who can I trust to run the factory when I leave and take care of the Oompa Loompas for me? Not a grown-up. A grown-up wants to do everything his own way, not mine. So I decided a long time ago I had to find a child.
I did put down that entire quote, but I couldn't decide where I wanted to go.
So yeah, I love the bond as that quote just, and don't you like my this, and don't you like my that? And like, I think that communicates the neediness that I think is going to be an important part of the, like, role-playing with the...
Yes.
With the character.
He just wants you to tell him how smart he is.
Yeah, and how great his stuff is and what a genius he is.
Mm-hmm.
And then for my flaw, I had it's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You stole fizzy lifting drinks. You bumped into the ceiling, which now has to be washed and sterilized. So you get nothing. You lose.
Good day, sir. Yeah, I think mine is, this is terrible. I shall be ruined. There are spies everywhere, which, you know, is also a flaw of his.
Right, yeah, the paranoia.
I think yours is better.
No, the paranoia, that's a really good one. We don't have quotes about that in the Gene Wilder movie, really. Mm-hmm. And you did get, it's one of those, like, I didn't, like, super care for the Johnny Depp movie, but I did really like the part where, you know, having Grandpa Joe be in the factory, like, makes sense, and it's, like, a good narrative choice. And having, like, Mr. Wonka, I used to work here. He's like, oh, are you one of those, the horrible spy that was stealing my life's work and selling it to those inferior candy makers? No, sir. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Welcome back. Like, the paranoia is an important part of the flaw.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what do you vis-a-vis? Because I'm with the flaw trying to hit the moralism.
I think I like your flaw better because that's more how he's going to be interacting with the PCs.
Yes. Always a good test question.
Yeah. It's the whole, like, if you do, we're going to be talking in our Adventure Hook section, spoilers, there's a possibility that the PCs are in fact spies who are hired by a Slugworth going to the factory.
Yes.
And if that's the case, then my flaw is the way to come at them. But I think as a general rule, it's going to be they accidentally stumbled on a golden ticket.
Yes. In which case, yeah, the more you lose. Good day, sir.
Good day, sir. So that just leaves trait. Do we want the two naughty, nasty little children gone through good, sweet little children left, or they always turn into blueberries?
Gosh, I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
They're both so good.
They're both really good. They're both really, really good. So they always turn into blueberries, sort of expressing how they're going to interact with him, the, like, callousness, the sort of abuse of the workers,
But it's like the callousness and the abuse of the workers, but at the same time, he's not malicious about it. He's not like, we'll do my experiments. He's just like, oh, I just don't understand it.
It's so inconvenient. Yeah. I'm going through so many Oompa Loompas. It's really annoying.
Yeah, going through Oompa Loompas is like, you know, going through peanuts.
Right. And it's, like, annoying. He doesn't want to be going through Oompa Loompas like this, but it's just like, this is sort of the progress.
Yeah.
This is more, you know, what's going to have? The moralism. Mm-hmm. And also you have the kind of contemptuous judgment of, like, setting up for failure. Like, I love the delivery. 3 good, sweet little children left. Like, just
that he knows they're gonna mess up.
And it's even one of the things, you know, in the Tim Burton movie where it's like, they're pointing out you kind of seem to have prepared all of this because they had songs about these children's names. And the idea that there always is that sort of Willy Wonka is kind of like mercurial magic, godlike figure.
Yeah.
And he kind of possibly did plan all this.
I think... I prefer mine, not because it's better, but because it touches on something that we don't have anywhere else.
Yes, because we do have the moralism already.
Yeah, the trait ties into the flaw. Like, that is an excellent trait, but the flaw kind of connects to it, so...
Right. I can definitely still have that quote in the adventure.
Oh, heck yeah. If it weren't for the fact that the flaw touched on this moralism and everything, then we'd be in a real doozy of a pickle trying to pick a trait. But fortunately... Okay,
cool.
Yeah.
Role-playing trait, ideal, bind, and flaw. Nice mix of both book and Gene Wilder movie with a little bonus references to the Johnny Depp movie, so we're covering all the bases here.
I haven't seen Wonka yet, though. We've heard it's good.
Yeah.
We have it on good authority that it's good, but like it's
not like relevant to this discussion.
He's getting the chocolate factory. He doesn't have it yet.
So let's talk about that chocolate factory that he is going to get, I assume, by the end of Wonka, and that world of pure imagination. Let's talk about Willie McDuff's candy factory in a section we like to call
The Land. The Land. Only a small percentage of the factory is located within the building itself. Most of it is housed deep beneath the earth, where Wonka maintains laboratories the size of villages. The antechamber contained a contract that was at least 3 times as long as I was tall, as well as a quill pen, and I found that I could not progress further until I signed it. I spent several hours poring over the entire document despite the minuscule print, and was grateful that I had invested the time. The factory had thousands of rules and regulations, and violating any of them would lead to, quote, the immediate and irrevocable forfeiture of all personal, bodily, and spiritual rights of the guests to the proprietor, end quote. I apologize for the reams of legalistic candy-related minutiae attached to this report. I felt it prudent to jot down as many of these rules as possible for future reference. I noted several names already on the contract, Veruca Salt, Augustus Gloop, and Charlie Bucket, to name a few, and as I signed my own, I could not help wondering what had become of them and whether the same fate would befall me. Before the ink had dried, the doors opened, and I found myself in a maze of underground passages, all of which inevitably led to some bizarre invention room, often with a giant illusory Wonka welcoming me and boasting about its contents. A bucolic meadow in which everything was made of candy, a room of little square confections that turned to look at me wherever I went, a barn filled with cows who gave chocolate milk. I saw all these things and more, all attended on by the sources of those tiny silhouettes I had seen through the windows. Those figures were Wonka's workers, a tiny humanoid species that he has whimsically dubbed Oompa Loompas. There's nothing whimsical about these creatures, who are little more than mindless drones. They follow Wonka's candy recipes, perform menial tasks, and serve as subjects for experimentation, but nothing more. Indeed, it seemed that the only difference between the Oompa Loompas and the Cauldron-born is that the Oompa Loompas are, nominally, alive. I soon noted that none of them cast a shadow, and I thought at first that Wonka had discovered the shadow phase method of creating changelings, separating the shadow from the host to produce an automaton who could do naught but labor. This may be the case, but if it is, he clearly has no control over the shadows themselves. A creature made of shadow stalked the factory, attacking anyone who crossed its path with excruciating and nightmarish visions. Based on those visions, well, as I said, I hope no one disabuses the workers' families of the notion that they're dead. And I believe that the Shadow's attacks targeting the Oompa Loompas are less akin to attempted homicide than to a mercy killing. Wonka, the Oompa Loompas, and their rebellious shadows are not the only beings in the factory, however. Many of those massive chambers contain bizarre guardians, a tiny creature that teleported between screens, a young woman in the garbage chute who attempted to ensnare me with refuse, some monstrosity lurking within the chocolate river that tried to drag me beneath the surface and devour me. As I shall relate, I soon learned who these guardians must once have been.
Okay, so as we mentioned up top, this is a very small domain.
Mm-hmm.
It's bigger than the physical space of the factories. It's got the weird, giant tunnels, extra-dimensional spaces.
I mean, it's like a conference room with, a couple of, AI-generated screens that you can do photo ops in front of. That's a very small domain.
Some Halloween spirit decorations, Party City decorations.
Cups of lemonade and jelly beans.
And a chemistry set.
Google,
I'm sorry.
Google Glasgow Wonka experience.
Yeah, I'm sorry people that haven't done that yet.
Yes,
it's just going to get worse from here.
It is.
We're going to keep referencing this because it's so much fun. But we are fundamentally imagining that this factory is a dungeon. That's one of the reasons I love this as a Ravenloft domain, because it slots into Dungeons and Dragons standard play so well. This is a dungeon. We are imagining that you kind of have these different zones, these large rooms that are zones. And that, so you're trying moving from zone to zone, you're trying to get to that glass elevator, the elevator we mentioned, the exit, and you have to, solve a kind of puzzle. It's never just go into the room and fight 2d6 Oompa Loompas and then move to the next room. There's always some kind of puzzle or skill challenge you have to get through to move to the next room.
Yeah, because, for our older listeners, the listeners who are more Toms than my age, there's a good chance that you haven't played any Mascot horror games.
Yes.
But there's a straight line that connects the Mascot horror games to those point-and-click adventure games, like the Sierra games, Gabriel Knight, all of that stuff.
Yes.
And with those, it is you have to put the potpourri on the I don't even remember what you did with the potpourri in Shannon. You did something with potpourri. But you have to put the cat hair on the passport.
Right, yes.
Give it a mustache.
Yes, to give it a mustache.
Yeah.
And you have to get like a cat to run across a strip of tape to get yourself a mustache or something. I've heard about that.
No, it's our younger listeners' turn to be confused. Ha!
What in the world are you talking about?
But so you probably have a frame of reference either for the point-and-click adventure games or for Mascot horror, and they're all, like, they're puzzle solving. They're, figuring out how are you going to use the long arms on the backpacks in the Poppy Playtime Factory or whatever to do stuff.
So, I kind of let slip the idea of the adventure. I mentioned the adventure, and you're like, oh, you mean the write-up? No, I don't mean the write-up. I mean the adventure, because we're talking about the rooms and the sections and what they'd be and what the combats would be and what the puzzles would be. And I was like, you know what? I just have a whole adventure in my head right now. Like, this is rapidly crossing the line from very detailed domain write-up to full-scale, like, mod.
Tom finally bit the bullet and got an Incarnate subscription for this.
You're welcome for those crappy maps. So, we are making a full adventure. It is going to be for sale. It's going to have, like, the whole factory, whole system, stats for fights, for monsters we'll talk about in a minute, and all of that. And we will have a discount coupon in the show notes for this episode, because we're hoping to drop right about when this episode drops.
And as always, for patrons, it's going to be free. In the episode on Patreon, there's going to be a link to the free version. And if you're on the Discord, you also get the link to the free version. So, a Patreon membership for a month is about the same price as the adventure, so come hop on over.
And thank you to everyone on the Discord that helped to playtest this.
Yes.
It was kind of a trying to get it out in time, and I really appreciate y'all.
We usually name drop you. I'm sorry we haven't done it yet. So
I'm recording this at time of recording.
But thank you all.
You just need to leave blanks. Like, thanks to... And it was hilarious.
Future Rachel will come in and thank you for being playing. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Em. Hi, Peter. Hi, Grey Aries. You guys rock.
But I don't want to be like, hey, kids, buy the adventure if you want to know. Yeah. So we're not going to give you everything we come up, because once again, we've come up with an entire adventure's worth of, like, the detail. But here are some guidelines for coming up with your own, taking our basic framework of this domain Willy McDuff, crazy Wonka paranoia factory, and coming up with your own dungeon to run your players through. So the first thing is kind of how we structured this dungeon and what we think is kind of going to be the way to do a Mascot horror Willy Wonka dungeon, which is building it around the NPCs, those naughty, nasty children. Yes. And the idea, because, we're going to talk about the elements of Mascot horror in just a minute, but the idea that it is built around these combats with these specific monsters, these specific NPCs. And the idea that those NPCs are the original children who were in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and possibly some other Roald Dahl Easter eggs. We'll get to that too. And so we're going to take those kids. I'm sorry, we mentioned bad things happen to kids. Those young people, maybe they're 20, they're 20. We're going to take those young people, and we are going to put them in a special health healer we just for them, in a themed room where they met their end. So, the gum room, the chocolate river, the wherever, and build the dungeon around it. Yes. This is, I think, if I may, that sound here is me patting myself on the back. If I may pat myself on the back. This is, I think, one of the things that I'm hoping will elevate this above, like, the Family Guy sketch. Mm-hmm. Or even if you were just going to sit down and be like, all right, let's do a Willy Wonka dungeon. I was like, okay, we're going to fight Oompa Loompas and fight Willy Wonka. Mm-hmm. And I think the kind of structuring it as having the children be these, like, body horror monsters. Mm-hmm. And having those kind of be the fights for each room is something a little original we're bringing to the table. Yes. Little above Family Guy Robot Chicken we're bringing to the table. And so we came up with that concept, and this is part of that clicking into that whole idea of doing this as Mascot horror. And as Rachel mentioned, if you have weird little spooky children like us and you're around our age, this might not be super familiar to you. If you're early 20s, you might also know, because I know, like, some of the younger adults I know were, like, right at the beginning of FNAF and got, like, very obsessed with it for a while. So our younger listeners, you're like, yeah, right. Here is kind of a little breakdown of Mascot horror and how we're trying to present this as a Mascot horror dungeon. Mascot horror, specifically the kind of Poppy Playtime that we're taking a lot from, as we mentioned, video game, is you're exploring this abandoned factory, and you'll go through a section, and then a lot of times you'll have, like, a boss fight and move on. Mm-hmm. So we are not imagining a lot of, like, random, roll 2d6 Oompa Loompa fights. Yeah. We're imagining basically this dungeon is a series of boss fights. That, like, you go to a room, and you have to deal with the puzzle of moving on to the next room, and then you have to fight the horrible, mutated child guardian that is guarding that room. And it's kind of a very singular boss fight style experience.
Like, once again, if you're not familiar with Mascot horror, you've heard of Five Nights at Freddy's, and you know that it's the Chuck E. Cheese horror.
Right, yeah.
It's like each individual member of the animatronic Chuck E. Cheese band, there aren't, like, 2d6 pizza goblins that are also attacking you. It's, Chuck E. Cheese and, like, I don't remember.
Louis the Chef and the bird or whatever. So, for those older listeners, contemporaries of ours, who are not familiar with this term, this is a little, like, brief rundown of Mascot horror, how we're trying to evoke it, how we're trying to be inspired by it in this setting. And we keep saying Five Nights at Freddy's, and that's the alpha. Like, yes, don't at me, please. I know there's more. I know it's more than this, but basically, like, what, like, something like Blair Witch Project is to found footage. I'm using a reference they'll probably get if they're our age. Then
because it wasn't the first found footage movie, but it was the thing that like really codified
the
it.
alpha, and that the found footage wave was not trying to do one of the precursor movies. It was trying to do Blair Witch Project. Similarly, the vast majority of Mascot horror video games we're seeing now are trying to be FNAF. And a lot of this is kind of interesting. This is a horror really seen in video games, and it's transferring over to some other things like movies that once again are very FNAF-centric. So there's the FNAF movie, and then there's the FNAF knockoffs, like the Willy's Wonderland movie with Nicolas Cage. But anyway, so that is our alpha point. We are specifically taking from one of those post-FNAF ones, Poppy Playtime, because that's about a spooky factory that you're exploring and fighting the bosses. But we're kind of fundamentally looking at the 4 qualities of a good Darklord, 4 sort of characteristics that I identify. I went and looked at, like, wiki entries and videos and lore stuff about a whole bunch of different Mascot horror franchises.
Wait, I had whole Spotify playlists of Rainbow Friends songs, guys. Our youngest really likes Mascot horror.
So this is kind of the 4 characteristics that I pulled out that we're trying to apply to this adventure and that we think do apply very well to Willy Wonka. And the first is the mascots. Mascots, Mascot horror. That Mascot horror, you have multiple monsters with different personalities, appearances, and playstyles. It's usually video games. So that, like, they're like different monsters that you have to escape or fight or whatever in different ways. They have different strategies, different tactics, different powers. And they're each like a very vivid, distinctive character.
Yeah, you've got, Poppy Playtime, you've got Catnap, the giant purple cat who puts you to sleep. Yeah. You've got, Mommy Longlegs, who is the spider who catches you in her web. Like, and those are 2 very different fights.
And Huggy Wuggy, who chases you and tries to crush you.
Yeah.
Right? And part of why Mascot horror is great for companies to make is that gives you merchandisable characters. And even just the fact that each one needs to be really distinctive. It can't just be like an old, Nintendo, like, video game where there's just, like, 5 palette swap ninjas.
Yeah.
It's like, no, each needs to be a really distinctive character because that makes them merchable and gets people more invested. So, our children have had many, many discussions about which FNAF mascot's their favorite, and which Withered mascot is their favorite, and which Mangled mascot is their favorite,
And even, like, again, all these mini Spotify playlists, like, each mascot has their own song.
Yes.
You're not going to get a song for the Red Sentinel versus the Orange Sentinel in X-Men.
The second kind of characteristic is, what's kind of coming out of FNAF, juxtaposition with childhood imagery. Like, FNAF was that, hey, let's have an evil haunted Chuck E. Cheese with evil haunted Chuck E. Cheese animatronics. But there's always something. Like Poppy Playtime mentioned, a toy factory. There's, spooky abandoned kindergarten, spooky abandoned family fun center, spooky abandoned day. Like, they're running out of, like, childhood associated locations to make spooky and abandoned and full of mascots.
I think, is Dandy's World Mascot horror, and it's like cartoons or something?
It's like, the story's very unclear on that one, but it seems to be like a kind of weird, like, daycare center-y type thing. So absolutely, having played it with my children, it is supposed to be some kind of, like, daycare center. Or something. Like, it looks like a kindergarten. But yes. So in this case, we are bringing a new one to the table, Abandoned Spooky Candy Factory.
Yes, haven't seen that one yet.
And then the third point is there is this lore. Like you're always coming in after very bad things have happened.
Mm-hmm.
After the childhood thing got abandoned and spooky.
After the Hour of Joy.
You are coming in after that, and there's always kind of an element of mystery, and there's always a lot of exploring and kind of piecing together what happened and why.
Once again, those points.
Yes, exactly that.
Just you're alone going through this environment, putting the thing on the thing to learn the thing.
And then finally, the fourth one, just like with our Qualities of a Good Dark Lord, we have 4. And I think this is like the secret sauce of a lot of the really successful Mascot horrors, is an element of tragedy. That you have these monsters, these Mascot monsters, but in a lot of them, there's a sense, once going back to FNAF, with the idea of these animatronics are trying to kill you or haunted by murdered children.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times there is like murdered children.
Yeah.
That like some kind of tragedy. Or our daughter told us about one called Indigo Park, which is kind of abandoned spooky Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
And they had this sort of, they were super dumb and unrealistic. Like, they tried to like make genetically engineered living mascot characters to be like the park mascots.
Oh my gosh.
But there's an idea of like the employees were like abusing that they were like, you know, kind of almost animals, and they were being like, you know, kept in cages and tasered and you screamed at, and like that element of tragedy that the monsters, a lot of times going back to FNAF, the monsters that are trying to kill you, in some cases you're fighting, are themselves victims of whatever this evil was that you're discovering.
Or even like Rainbow Friends, which I don't know what the child aspect is. All of the Rainbow Friends that I know of were adults that got like changed by Red, but like they were human beings who got changed into monsters. And that's bad.
So, as I'm going through these, just like with the 4 quadrants of the domain, hopefully you can see, oh wow, that clicks into Willy Wonka so well.
Yeah.
Especially like kind of our story of, you have these monsters, quote unquote, you have to fight, but they are these children that were basically experimented on by this moralistic psychopath and turned into monsters.
Yeah. Even like the idea that you have, we didn't have this on our list, but that like the authority figure running the abandoned whatever was a monster. You know, William Afton, or the people running the Copy Playtime Factory, or Red, or, you know...
Or the Bendy the Ink Machine Walt Disney analog, and
And Willy Wonka is that for that. He's
the
Willie Afton.
Yeah, exactly. We mentioned this. He's our William Afton. So, that is the kind of general vibe we're going for. Now let's talk a little bit about how we are imagining these sort of specific rooms of the factory that you're exploring. And we are imagining that there are the rooms in the factory. You could always take them from the books or the movies or the various things. It gives you a lot of options.
Yeah, I'm reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to our youngest right now, and we're not doing anything with the hair toffee. If you want to do something with the hair toffee, go nuts.
So you could take those ones, and you can just have, you know, Veruca Salt and Mike TV and Violet Beauregard. Or as we mentioned, and we're going to have this in our adventure, you could have a couple of your own, like Candy Children. It could be like more time has gone by and more children have been golden ticketed and judged unworthy and turned into monsters.
Or adults.
Or adults, yes.
And this is a great place to work in Roald Dahl Easter eggs.
Roald Dahl Easter eggs.
We'll get to that.
All over the place. And that as you're exploring, as you're going through the rooms, you find some kind of clues to what happened. Maybe like diary, you know, entries, letters, newspaper clippings, the kind of things, once again, in these kind of video games. Of, you know, sort of the equivalent of audio logs.
Yes.
The candy records that you can play, and they, like, give you Wonka's audio journals or whatever. You know, if you played one of these kind of environmental storytelling video games.
BioShock, you know what we're talking about.
And
I haven't even played BioShock, and I know that if you've played BioShock, you know what we're talking about.
And the nice thing is that finding the lore, you could have, like, this tragedy of these children and having a DM, not running a video game, you have a lot more creative freedom.
Yes.
So it could even be, like, maybe you could reach the children. Maybe you could, like, get them to help you if you make good persuasion. If you've, like, discovered some of their backstory, you use that for persuasion rolls. You could get them to stop fighting you. Or you could just kind of throw them for a loop so their attacks are at disadvantage.
Yeah. I feel like that's really going to be a thing. Like, even, we'll talk about this more when we get to aging down, but, like, I feel like that's really going to be a thing for a good number of your players. Unless they've just always wanted to give Veruca Salt that kick in the pants.
I mean, Veruca Salt deserved everything.
Hashtag Veruca Salt did everything wrong.
So they're moving through the rooms, and you've got a couple of video game elements you can take. You could have Willy Wonka, like, show up and taunt them, Once again, classic sort of video game final boss just shows up and taunts you, or like shows up and pull a bunch of levers and blasts you with steam or candy or whatever, or, you know, sticky chocolate sticks you to the floor. You can just be this, like, your classic video game, like, just annoying boss NPC who shows up and you can't fight them yet, and they just, like, make things harder for you.
I hate them so much.
You could have the unknown, we mentioned as a possibility, this, like, shadowy Oompa Loompa suppressed minds figure that he blames as a rival chocolate maker living in the walls. And like you once again kind of on that Mascot horror tragedy element, victims, the unknown's just lashing out.
Yeah.
But maybe interacting with the unknown can give PCs clues that it is the Oompa Loompas' sort of suppressed identities, and then they could like get it on their side.
Yes.
Like, this was your idea, I remember.
Yeah, we're taking a lot. I don't know how much of it's going to come out in the episode, but for planning the adventure, we're taking a lot from Bleak House, the Death of Van Richten mod, because that had some, like, not Mascot horror because it was the 90s, but it was a similar kind of, like, you had Madame Radonovich was, you know, trying to break Van Richten by getting all these ghosts of people who had been former companions of his who had been killed helping him, and, like, enslaving them and sending them against him. And so you had an element of tragedy with them because they didn't want to be doing this, and they were all distinctive, and just, it worked really well. And one of the things with the ending was that the ending is just so much easier if you're able to get some of the ghosts on your side, because then they come after...
Confirm.
Yes.
Yes, can confirm.
Did you win any of the ghosts over the first time you played?
No.
Yeah. And it was real bad.
A hard boss fight.
Tom has played through Bleak House twice. And the second time, it was not a hard boss fight. And this can be a similar thing of you win over the unknown. You kind of like are reaching it. You're saying, hey, we now get what you are. We understand you want to stop Willy Wonka. Maybe you're even able to do that with some of, you know, the Violet Beauregards and the Augustus Gloop or whatever.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when you're fighting Willy Wonka to get away, they come out and fight on your side.
And that makes the boss fight easier.
Yes, and then all of the stuff that your bard has been doing to win them over pays off.
To give you a couple of specific examples of how you might do this, like, you could take some from the classic Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, movies, book, whatever. You've got the Chocolate River Room, and it's got Augustus Gloop, and you have to fight Augustus Gloop, and maybe he's, like, stretched out, and he's like a snake, and he, like, boa constrictors you, or tries to, like...
He's been through the pipe.
Dislodge his jaw and swallow you.
Yeah.
And then you have the Invention Room, and maybe it's, like, once again, you have Violet Beauregard, and she's, like, a big blueberry who's just bouncing around and doing all this, like, bludgeoning kind of, like, bull rush damage on you as she caroons around and smashes into you, crushing you.
Possibly tries to chew you.
Yes. Whatever. You could also just make your own. And the great thing here is you're like, okay, where do I even start to make my own? We mentioned you can do just Roald Dahl references. So the great thing with Roald Dahl is he did not just write one book of moralistic body horror. Gives you lots of options.
So, like, you could do the witches, and you could have Bruno, because that was another greedy little boy who ate lots of chocolate. There's a giant mouse, and maybe he could be in the squirrel room if you want Veruca to have a golden goose room or be in the furnace or whatever. He could be in the squirrel room commanding his squirrel army.
His squirrel army to swarm you and throw you down the trash chute.
You know, you could have Grandma from George's Marvelous Medicine. You could have the Trunchbull who grabs you by the ears or grabs you by the braids and, like, throws you like a hammer. Like, oh, there's so many options for amazing villains if you just plunder Roald Dahl. And then we had talked about the fact that this is, at its heart, it's a point-and-click adventure game. So the idea that, you know, when you're getting into these rooms, having these boss fights, maybe you're going to just fight your way past the boss and get out, but there should also be a puzzle that you have to solve. So in the adventure, we're going to have that there's a key, and you have to find the key and unlock the door. So, like, you know, the fizzy lifting drinks room, you have to drink the fizzy lifting drinks and fly up and get the key.
Past the fan blades.
So, like, that's what we're doing, but whatever you end up doing, some kind of puzzle that you solve in order to be able to have a non-combat way to get past, especially if you want to play up the fact that these were once kids. Or, you know, if you really want to do stuff with your bard, then you can have the charisma check option. You can have that they're able to, even if they don't full-on win over the NPC, that they're able to, like, get in Mike TV's head enough to confuse him. And then he's not going after them and they're able to get past them. So, like Yeah.
That's your great with social stuff, with talking to NPCs. That's your great, like, no but.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, no, you don't, Mike TV's still going to attack you, but you've reminded him of his humanity, you reminded him what happened to him, so he's off his game.
Yeah.
And then the bard gets to still feel really good. The bard gets to feel like, oh wow, I really, like, helped. I really, like, was the MVP of that combat, because suddenly I make this great persuasion check, and he's got disadvantage on all his attack rolls.
Yeah, and then again, if they don't want to kill the things that were once children, which I can see being a big thing.
Right, yes.
That, like, if the bard has done all that charisma stuff, then maybe, he retreats faster, he doesn't have the morale, maybe there's a couple of rounds where he's just really confused and doesn't do anything, you're able to get past him, so yeah.
So, this is an amazing dungeon. Even just doing the children from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory / Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, I think it's good, like, for most people, going to be an amazing time.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have so much room to, like, make it your own, customize it, make it different. And either way, you're going through at least to some kind of boss fight with Willy Wonka / Willy McDuff. And then if you beat him, you can get into the glass elevator and you can escape the domain.
Yeah.
So fundamentally, your adventures through this factory are straight line, with many potential twists and turns. So not straight line at all. But that was very Willy Wonka of me. So you enter, you go into the factory, you go into the Chocolate River room, and you end at the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
But what brought you to this land of pure imagination? Why, oh why, would your PCs come to this horrible, haunted, spooky chocolate factory? Rachel, what do you do with it?
They came because they've got a golden ticket. Dread possibilities. After enduring a truly dreadful boat ride through a tunnel that seemed to be imbued with a fear spell, I found myself in an artificer's workshop, with Oompa Loompas operating strange machines that produced all manner of bizarre confections. As I studied them, keeping my hands clasped behind my back to avoid breaking Rule 236, quote, "The guest shall not touch any equipment without the express verbal or written permission of the proprietor," end quote, the air was filled with the scent of ripe blueberries. I thought nothing of it, as food smells were omnipresent in the factory. A sudden waft of air against my back, however, alerted me that a door behind me had opened, and I turned just in time to see a massive blue sphere barreling toward me. I could barely make out a head, feet, and hands protruding from its surface, grotesquely small against its bulk, and I realized to my dismay that the sphere was a young woman's mutated body. As I cast fly to get out of her path, I saw a glint of gold tucked into her belt. I was looking at one of the previous golden ticket holders. I tried to remember the women's names on the contract I had signed. Veruca Salt? I called. Violet Beauregard? At the sound of the second name, the blueberry creature stopped in her tracks, staring at me and gnashing her teeth. I didn't know what else to say to her. She recognized her name, but seemed unable to register much language beyond that. She reminded me of the Beast of Elsaw's, reduced by her transformation to an animalistic state, but she did not attack as I spoke to her in soothing tones, and I was able to skirt past her to escape the room. This strategy was not always successful. I was able to win over Charlie Bucket easily, and I found that I could placate Michael TV with amusing illusions. But Veruca Salt was intent on smothering me in garbage no matter how kindly I spoke to her. I believe I had already evaded Augustus Gloop before recognizing the nature of these guardians. These attempts to connect to the former ticket holders provided some unexpected benefits when I at last encountered Wonka in his sanctum. Wonka effusively congratulated me for making it through his factory without breaking a single rule, and informed me that I had now earned the right to remain as his apprentice and successor. It may have been the least appealing recruitment pitch that any dreadlord has given me in the past year, which is an impressive accomplishment. When I refused, he became enraged and attacked me with various candy constructs. I tried to escape, but unlike the Horned King, Wonka had magical defenses to spare. Just as I thought all was lost, an enormous living blueberry hurtled into the sanctum, smashing the candy constructs flat. As Wonka tried to chase her away, Charlie, a flying man who seemed to have been mutilated by blades at some point, led me to a glass elevator lined with buttons. One of them read emergency exit. I thanked Charlie profusely, pushed the button, and found myself rocketing through the ceiling and into the cloudy sky.
I want adventure in the great wide somewhere.
I want it more than I can tell.
So, as we said, the nice thing with this setting is there is a very clear, gate we set up to this adventure, in terms of there's only one way into the domain, which is a golden ticket.
Yes.
So maybe you could absolutely just have, if you're lucky enough, rubbing your hands together as your PCs talk about buying candy, you could drop that they have a golden ticket.
Yes.
And there you go, the adventure happens. But what would maybe inspire them to seek out a golden ticket? What would inspire them to do a, Veruca Salt style, buying crate after crate of Wonka bars and unwrapping them until they found a golden ticket?
Well, we talked about the pulling purse strings versus pulling purse strings. And if you're doing the purse strings, one of them is the possibility that a Slugworth style figure hires you to go in and steal Willy Wonka's secrets, and it's going to pay you so much money.
Yep.
And maybe even
5,000 of these waves packet of cash.
Yes. Maybe, this Slugworth figure, even they have the golden ticket already, and they put it in some kind of, spell, time
stasis
bubble
thing.
Stasis thing that prevents it from going off until they give it to you.
Look, they've done some spell, this one has a golden ticket. We are giving this chocolate Wonka bar to you. When you open it, it will have a golden ticket inside.
Yes.
You're not paranoid. Slugworth is out to get you. Your PCs could actually be the proof of Wonka's paranoia.
Yes.
Slugworth is still after his secrets.
And then the opposite of that, the heartstrings, is maybe you're trying to rescue someone who got a golden ticket and disappeared. Maybe their family comes to you and they're like, our child or our non-child loved one, because our party doesn't do that, got this golden ticket and now they're gone. Or Charlie, he found the golden ticket. He thought that finally this was going to be the end of everything, and we never saw him again. Please, you have to go to Wonka's factory and find out what happened.
Exactly. So, heartstrings, purse strings, we have both. That's the great thing. Whatever appeals to your particular party, both easy to set up.
Yes.
Because it's so random and so omnipresent, these Wonka bars that can have a golden ticket. It could be you're hired to go. It could be you're going to rescue, search for a child. So once you get there, as we mentioned, it's a dungeon crawl.
Yes.
You have I love this. You have a clear goal. You want to get out.
Yes.
It's a horrible candy factory full of monsters. And you don't have to get your PCs to want to leave.
No.
And they're not going to inherit the factory. And so you have that obvious goal. You could do this as a pure survival dungeon crawl, where there's very little, you're not going to find a +1 longsword necessarily, or a lot of gold in the factory. So it could just be, this is one of those survival dungeon crawls where you're just trying to get out. Or you could potentially, via the medium of magical candy, have quite a lot of loot, quite a lot of magic items. So, we mentioned that Wonka has that ability to make any spell into a candy, so that's amazing. It's basically a dungeon chock-a-block with spell scrolls.
Yes.
But these are special spell scrolls that non-casters can use. And how amazing is that?
Really.
Your fighter can eat the red hot and cast Firebolt.
Yes.
From the fire shooting out of their mouth.
It's scrolls, but they follow potion rules.
Yes.
And how cool is that?
Any spell. Your barbarian could get flight.
Yes.
Could have the fizzy lifting drink and get flight.
Yes.
The power of flight. And that's just amazing in terms of you could be loading up your PCs with treasure. And the really cool thing here is that since it's a lot of consumables, it's not even that power imbalancing.
Yeah. That you give them this one-time thing.
Yes.
And then they gotta figure out when to use it. And number one, PCs love that.
Yeah, right.
Number two, GMs love that. Because it's it's gonna mess up that encounter you have planned because they're finally gonna use that thing.
Yeah. That barbarian's gonna drink that fizzy lifting drink.
But that's the thing that you gave them, knowing that there was a chance this might happen, and you're gonna feel so great that you gave them the thing.
And you're going to feel like a beneficent god.
Exactly.
And they're going to feel very proud of themselves for remembering the barbarian had a tube of fizzy lifting drink. so they just fly over the combat encounter.
Yes.
You could be rescuing a child that's in there, like a new character, or could even be, once again, building on the sympathy, one of these children. It could be that, the Salts hire you to rescue their horrible daughter. And so you have to get feral little mink coat trash lady Veruca to come back with you. So there could be some reward there as well. If you're not getting reward from, gold, magic items from the factory, it could be you're getting them from whoever hires you to get their child and bring them back.
I mean, Veruca is the worst, but she's also an absolute queen.
Yes, right. She wants the whole world.
The whole world. I love her. I love Veruca.
So great. So, that's such a good dungeon. So you have that slider, whatever kind of amount of reward treasure you want to have, you can justify having.
Yes.
Either in the dungeon via magic candy, or outside the dungeon via, you rescue Charlie and you bring him back and they're like, oh, we don't have much, but we have this antique necklace, and it's like a, magic necklace.
Yeah.
And it's like a magic item.
Yeah.
And there you go. As we have mentioned, if you are in all engaged in American pop culture, then you are aware of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You're aware of the concept of having a golden ticket, the concept of Willy Wonka, the concept of the Oompa Loompa song. So I could see this appealing to a wide variety of tables.
I mean, John Mulaney has so many
so many
sets about it.
About Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Pete Davidson has played Grandpa Joe in 2 separate Saturday Night Live sketches. Bizarrely enough.
And then, as mentioned, I am currently reading it for the second time to our 7-year-old.
So we always have our aging down, our aging up, playing for younger players like a 7-year-old, for older players like adults who John Mulaney style saw Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory on VHS when they were growing up, and it really made an impression. So aging down, this is really tricky.
Yes.
Because on the one hand, kids love mascot horror. It's that whole bizarre, as parents, mascot horror is drawing on a lot of this, childhood imagery. And that really does appeal to a lot of children. And they love the, the taxonomies, and here's the, list of all the monsters and all their personalities, and here's the lore, and they get so into, the, YouTube videos about the lore and the secrets and the Easter eggs and the, glitches.
And just having all the lists. Kids love lists.
But some mascot horrors get very intense. They've described Poppy Playtime scenes to me that make me second guess some of our parenting decisions vis-a-vis Poppy Playtime.
Yes. I feel like really with aging down, I feel like our youngest would love to play a mascot horror show in the Chocolate Factory. But at the same time, our youngest is a great example of why we would never be able to run a mascot horror Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, game for him, because he would love all this stuff, but he's 7.
Yes, but then he might have nightmares.
Yes.
So general tips. A lot of this is knowing the kids and knowing what they've done, what they've enjoyed, what horror they've experienced. Have they actually played Poppy Playtime or just watched, YouTubers talk about it? Because that's a big, that's a big filter.
Watch stupid Lanky Box. I hate Lanky Box. I hate them so much.
I can say this because our children aren't listening to this, but I hate them and want them to die.
I want them to get a golden ticket.
So, general tips. Much less body horror.
Yes.
So, Violet is just a big blueberry bouncing around trying to smush you, not the, horrible trying to chew you. Not going into the Oompa Loompa backstory. Yes. That's a particularly horrific element of this setting. There's Oompa Loompas. In general, we're taking a lot of stuff in Wonka and dialing up the horror elements, and you can dial that down, and you can make it more silly. Violet Beauregard, you can make her a monster. It can be a very silly monster or a very terrifying, disturbing body horror monster. And just go to silly.
Yes. And even with that, I feel with the silly monster, again, I'm sorry, the target audience for this aging down section is our 7-year-olds.
Yeah, right.
So, if your kids are different,
specific,
then, that, I think a lot of kids who like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory / Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory are going to be all over the fact that these rotten kids got their comeuppance.
Yes.
They're going to be totally fine with fighting giant blueberry Violet Beauregard who's bouncing around trying to bounce on them. That part is fine. You don't have to worry about, oh gosh, she's a kid. Because for them, that's fine. She's a peer.
Yes. Part of why this book works, part of why it's still so beloved today, why they're making Timothée Chalamet prequels today, is because it clicks so much with the inherent brutal moralism of many children.
Yes. So, if the very idea of having these kids show up as monsters, if you're a little worried about that, if you have kids, obviously you know your own kids, but, from the kids we know, That in and of itself is
sample
not an
size
issue.
of one, yes.
Well, three.
Yeah.
I feel like the older
The
two
older
also
two,
wouldn't
yeah.
have minded. But, yeah. I don't feel like having Violet Beauregard, Veruca Salt, Mike TV, and Augustus Gloop be monsters, even though they were once kids, is going to be an issue. You just have to dial back how monstrous they are.
Yeah. And also, we are having Willy Wonka unrepentant evil jerk Darklord. A lot of kids really do love Willy Wonka, so you might want to make him be more redeemable. You might want to, we brought in the unknown, it actually might be a good way to make that work, or not just be like a immediately dateable reference to an internet thing.
Yes.
Like, my goodness, this is going to be a very dateable episode from exactly like 3 years stretch when people were making Wonka experience jokes. But it could actually be, oh, here's this shadowy monster controlling Willy Wonka, or possessing Willy Wonka, or just have it be the boss fight. You beat the unknown, and Willy Wonka's back to his charming Gene Wilder / Johnny Depp self.
Yeah, that, like, even if you are doing it in the Ravenloft, domain format, the unknown is the Darklord.
Right, yeah.
The Darklord is Slugworth, who is so angry that he could never achieve the level of genius that Willy Wonka has, and he became the unknown and it's tormenting him. Like, that, there's your aging down domain where you can save Willy Wonka.
But what about if you have a party of John Mulaney type adults who are much more comfortable exploring the darker, weirder, more twisted, more sadistic child logic elements of this setting?
I don't think we're going to need a skip-ahead warning for this, because this is already a pretty skip-ahead episode. And also, we're not going to get into a whole lot of detail here.
Willy Wonka is his own content warning.
Willy Wonka is his own content warning. It's pretty aged up already. It's pretty dark. The big dial is the body horror.
Yeah.
If you want to dial up the body horror, go ahead. Like, Tom and I aren't huge... well, I can't speak for you, actually. We both enjoy reading body horror. I don't have that much of a body horror imagination, so I can't really tell you how to dial up the body horror, which is probably good for the overall rating of this episode.
Yes.
But, like, if you have a strong body horror imagination, you know how to run Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory by Clive Barker, so I don't need to tell you. Like,
Willy Wonka has such sights to show them.
He does have such sights to show them.
In his world of pure imagination.
There is a possibility, if the PCs eat any of the candy or break any of the rules. We've mentioned that they have golden tickets. They are coming here as golden ticket holders. That means that they are bound to the rules of the factory. So if they break any of those rules, they might start getting Augustus glooped or Veruca salted.
That's awesome, yeah.
And, obviously Session Zero.
Yeah.
But what if your PCs start getting body horror and get their own little Oompa Loompa song because they messed up? That's going to be real fun and real interesting. And if you want to have them killing the enemies rather than, like, that's not our bag. But if you want to, if that's your bag, go nuts.
This is where you can hit that kind of classic Mascot horror tragedy that you see in Poppy Playtime, where it's like, this monster, quote unquote monster, is a victim. But I have to kill them.
Yes.
Like, they will kill me, or they will do some kind of horrible thing. So just the quirks of fate are forcing me to do this terrible thing. And to kill this, angry, wounded child.
Yeah.
To prevent some worse fate. And that's a very aging up thing.
Yes. Session Zero it, because Tom and I would not play this game.
Right.
Like, but
that is a place to take an aging up Willy Wonka. So that is running our spooky Poppy Playtime-esque factory Mascot horror, Five Nights at Freddy's inspired Willy Wonka adventure for both younger players and older players, both of whom this might greatly appeal to. But another spin, you might want to have an alternative, a kind of non-Mascot horror setting. Yeah,
if you heard us say we're doing this Mascot horror and you heard us describing it and you're like, but I just want Willy Wonka to lead them through the factory.
Yeah.
And, like,
I just want Oompa Loompa songs about my PCs.
Like, I don't want this to be after all the bad stuff has happened. I want the bad stuff to be happening while the PCs watch it. Then we do have an AU for you. Which is basically, I almost feel silly giving this because it's basically just run the book / movie. But you can have a version where Willy Wonka is still very invested. And that, like, even if you are doing the Mascot horror version of this, where the previous non-golden ticket winners are lurking around. This might be something you want to play with the idea of Willy Wonka is leading them, doing the full, trying to be charming and everything, and then they're finding out the dark side of it. And if you want to run that version, then, your PCs get the golden ticket, and they go, and maybe you have a whole cast of NPCs who can get picked up one by one as they're going through the factory.
Possibly a little spoiled person in Veruca Salt.
Possibly. Or, maybe you want to do something with, the PCs, have things happen to them, and they don't full on, leave the party the way the kids do in the movie/book, but they get some kind of weird, body horror adjustment thing happen to them, and now, they have a bite attack or whatever for the rest of the session because they ate too much candy and now they can eat everything. And in that case, you just want it to be that Willy Wonka is still very active. He's still involved. He's still trying to bring in a successor and really believes he can bring in a successor. And he's not just showing up and taunting them and, attacking them. He's leading them through the factory, showing them the factory, showing them his beautiful world, not having them ask too many questions about the Oompa Loompas. Mm-hmm. And you're still finding out slowly what happened. I still really do like the idea that the former children are lurking around, trying to come out and attack them. But in this case, it's Willy Wonka's sweeping them under the rug. He doesn't want you to see them. He doesn't want you to see the dark side of this. And, gradually, obviously your PCs are going to know that Willy Wonka's not on the up and up. Yeah. But they're going to find out exactly...
know who the big blueberry girl is.
Yeah.
And her whole deal.
They're going to find out exactly how not on the up and up he is. And then that's going to lead to that final conflict with him. And if you do have genre-savvy PCs who are going to know immediately that Willy Wonka is a villain, because obviously he is, having the unknown lurking around could be a way to, red herring that maybe the unknown is the villain. And that he's the one who's been doing all this. Or maybe actually, in this case, maybe the unknown actually is the villain.
Right, yeah.
Maybe Willy Wonka doesn't realize the horrible things that are happening to everybody, and rather than the unknown being the Oompa Loompas, suppress anger and rage, the unknown is Willy Wonka's dark side. It's kind of like a Jack Skellington, Jack Skellington Oogie Boogie thing.
Right, or even it's his moralistic resentment and judgment. Yeah.
Because they're going to be oh my gosh, Willy Wonka, yeah, he's the worst. I've seen that Robot Chicken sketch.
The great thing here is the fact that when you introduce... It's not just a Wonka experience, extremely dateable reference.
Yes.
It gives you that chance to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of whatever your PCs are this is obviously what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
The unknown is the chance to actually it's this thing. To have it be a plot twist. But actually Willy Wonka isn't the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually Willy Wonka is the bad guy. If they really glom onto the unknown as the villain.
Mm-hmm. And then, that way, whether your final boss is going to be Willy Wonka or the unknown in this, Chocolate Factory tour version, you'll be able to have a boss fight at the end. You'll be able to, hopefully save all the other people who are on the tour with you. Or not. They're probably awful.
They probably deserve it.
Yeah.
They might be American. They might chew gum or be
American. They might chew gum.
Or be American.
Or watch TV.
So, we have talked about running this game, this dungeon, this really, really excellent D&D-able, bizarrely very well compatible with Dungeons & Dragons gameplay style dungeon for younger players, for older players, for players that want the full Wonka experience, but hopefully it'll be better than the Glasgow Wonka experience.
I sure hope so.
Now let's give you our parting thoughts in the section we like to call
Parting Thoughts.
So the first thing I want to talk about in the Parting Thoughts section is the genre of horror. This is from Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, which lists a series of genres of horror and then talks about the sort of aesthetic of that horror, what fear it's evoking, offers scenarios, monsters that fit that genre. It's super helpful.
Yes.
Recommended for any kind of horror gaming. And
This was an interesting one. I've been excited about this because the genre of horror is Mascot horror.
Mascot horror,
that is what we're doing. But it's what are the Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft genres? And I've been chewing on this for a while, and I am excited to talk about this.
All right, so do you want to go first?
I do.
What do you got?
I think number one with a bullet is body horror.
Yes, there's a strong element of body horror.
Yeah, just
absolutely.
All the transformations and everything, and we keep talking about body horror, and even just, again, with Mascot horror, body horror is pretty much always an element because you've got the people getting turned into the mascots. So both for this domain in particular and mascot horror in general, body horror.
My inclination for absolute body horror, 100% agree that, we keep saying the word body horror in all the discussion of this. And I would also say mascot horror as a subgenre of slasher.
See, I was thinking that at first, and I think for Five Nights at Freddy's that works. But I think a big element of slasher horror is the being stalked. Whereas with this, you're going into the rooms where the monsters are. It's not that, like, they're following you and you're trying to escape them. I was actually, maybe I'm crazy here. But for mascot horror in general, and definitely as a subgenre for this, I was actually thinking Ghost Story.
Yeah.
That they're essentially haunted houses.
Yeah, no, that absolutely makes sense. Even, like, a big part of it is unraveling what happened, unraveling the story. Like, solving the house is solving the mystery of the Ghost Story.
Yeah.
I was affiliated with that. I was going back and forth between Gothic.
I was thinking Gothic,
too.
because
we had talked about Gothic earlier, how weirdly there is a lot of Gothic here.
Yeah.
You've got the space that represents his inner world. You've got the past reaching into the present. You've got even Wonka, sort of a Gothic villain figure.
You've got the, they're not innocents, but even just the idea of children being corrupted.
Right. And you've even got, like, the body horror. You mentioned it's a very Gothic body horror. It's not, sort of necessarily like something like The Fly, where it's just like a horrible accident, kind of arrogance, but really it's this idea of, like, you're specifically being changed to represent your inner sins.
Yeah, I can go for Gothic. I think Gothic is a good...
It's such a non-traditional Gothic. It's such a, like, the aesthetics of the Gothic, and, like, half of the Gothic is the aesthetics.
Yes.
But, like, it hits all the boxes, really.
It does.
Like, Willy isn't a, like, seducer or tempter, but he is a kind of corrupter. So, like, that's, like, the one, but, like, weirdly enough, and I kept going back and forth between this is either Gothic or Ghost Story, because there's so much overlap between those two. But, like, I think I gotta come down Gothic.
I think I do, too, yeah. It's even, like... He's not a Gothic corruptor, but he's almost more of like a trickster. And I think that's a kind of an interesting, non-traditional way to do the Gothic figure.
Okay, cool. Like, weirdly enough, you weren't expecting to hear Gothic, probably. Body horror, probably. We're coming in ready for body horror when we talk about genres of horror. If you haven't read that chapter in American's Guide, you've probably heard the term body horror. I know it applies to Willy Wonka.
Yes.
So, the next thing I'd like to do is talk about what kind of game you can run in this. You have some domains like Barovia or Darkon that you can run a full... hardback WotC level 1 to 11, months and months and months and months and months of playstyle campaign. Like, for example, Curse of Strahd. Like, that's definitively, provably true with Barovia.
Yes.
Then you also have other domains, things like...
The House of Lament, speaking of haunted houses.
Which is a domain... Technically, it's in the same category as like Barovia or Darkon, but it's really made to do one adventure. Like, you go and you do one adventure. It's like one, maybe 2 sessions. There's kind of one story to tell in that domain.
I want to play Curse of Wonka.
Yes.
I want to be here level 1 to 11.
Level 1 to 11 Curse of Wonka. Going on all the side quests across the factory.
Yes.
Factory might be as big as all of Barovia. You had all the tunnels and side rooms and all the weird stuff.
Yeah, no, this is a one-shot.
Golly, yes. This is a dungeon.
This is like Home Alone. This and Home Alone are like our 2 single dungeon domains.
Our single dungeon domains, yes. Like House of Lament, which is probably the closest classic Ravenloft analog.
Yeah.
This is a dungeon. It might be a long dungeon, right? Like, it might be something that's like many rooms, make up a whole bunch of Roald Dahl referencing new Wonka victims to go along with your classics of Veruca's assaults and Mike's TVs. But it's a dungeon.
It's a dungeon.
In the end of the day, this is like you sit down and you are playing through one dungeon, or that's 1 session, 2 sessions, 3 sessions. That still fits the category of one shot, in my opinion. So, speaking of classic Ravenloft references, very bizarre question, one of the more bizarre, I think, we've posted in this part of the podcast episodes, and that is there older material in the older 2nd edition, 3rd edition Ravenloft material that you could connect to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
There is a surprising amount.
Nice.
Yes. There are
Gothic.
At least 3 domains connected here.
Oh my.
Yes. So, first off, we need to pause so I can acknowledge that that when we were talking about all the transformations, Tom scrolled down and added something of his own to incorporating, and I began fanning myself. So why don't you share one of the incorporating the older materials?
Oh, right. So we mentioned that we are imagining that we mentioned in our aging up section that one possibility to crank up that body horror, one of our genres we've just discussed, would be to have something where the PCs are sort of slowly transforming. That, like, as they're eating the candy or as they're breaking the rules, they're transforming Charlie and the Chocolate Factory naughty child style. And I remember that actually is something that has speaking of that whole connection to the Gothic, that well-established precedent in older material in Ravenloft, which were powers checks.
Yes.
Which were when you, through a very weird chart-based morality metric, basically when your PC did immoral things, they would make a check, and if they failed the check, they would start transforming into a monster. But it had that rule in 2nd and 3rd edition because it was once again trying to evoke those classic Gothic tropes we mentioned in relation to Willy Wonka, weirdly enough. That idea of, once again, this sort of external expression of sin. That, like, you sin, and that sin transforms you physically into the kind of the monster that you are within. So sort of like one of the core ideas of Picture of Dorian Gray.
Yes.
That, like, this picture is his true self. The hideous, ugly monster that he is inside. And kind of anyone that looks at the portrait sees his true appearance. And so it's kind of that same thing. And that's basically what this book is doing, or these movies are doing.
And they had the whole system, like, with powers checks, it was gradual. Whereas with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you don't have, like, well, Violet starts off slightly blueberried, but the more gum she chews, the more of a blueberry she becomes. But you could plunder that for some ideas of the, like, it gives you these penalties, but also lets you cast this spell, and this and that. It's just, there's some good stuff.
And it saves you a lot of work of, like, okay, what do I want to body horror with them? If you just sort of take the options for changing into monsters they might offer in the power checks material and just be like, I turn into a ghoul.
Yeah.
But now to the more classical Wonderful World of Darklords, Rachel take on the way the older material could connect to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
You're never going to guess what domain I'm about to say.
Oh, boy.
What if? So we've got, Slugworth is trying to steal the candy because Slugworth is this entrepreneur. You know who else is an entrepreneur? Ivana Baritza. What if the Baritza Trading Company wants to get their hands on some of this Wonka chocolate?
They want to expand into chocolate.
They want to expand into the chocolate business.
So much fun.
So Ivana hires you. She is your Slugworth, and she will give you 1,000 of these if you go and bring the everlasting gobstopper.
And that's just, like, it's so, like, not super villainy. But if it's just like, I'm a businesswoman, this is a big business.
Yes.
Do you know how much money Wonka's making on those chocolates? Like,
he's making so much money on these chocolates, but it's such a waste because he's got these silly golden tickets, so he's cutting himself off at the knees because no one wants to buy them. I am saving him from himself. I am saving these chocolates from this madman. And then, like, with 5e Ivana, she's got her plants cast spells. She makes, like, potions and perfumes out of her plants, and they cast spells. And that's basically what we're doing with Willy Wonka.
Exactly.
So, they go together beautifully. On the flip side, if you're doing older material Ivan Delisnia, we mentioned in the Pirates of the Caribbean episode, in the older material, his curse was that he used to be this gourmet, and he's lost his sense of taste. So he can no longer enjoy Wonka bars, and if he can't have them, no one can. So Ivan hires you to burn down Willy Wonka's factory.
So if you are running a campaign that heavily features Borka and possibly some of the complex politics of that domain, number 1, contact Rachel on social media.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Number 2, lots of options for incorporating, of all things, Willy Wonka into your cutthroat Renaissance politics game.
If you just want a goofy break from politics.
Right. A candy dungeon. Just want a candy dungeon.
A world of pure imagination.
Which I could see that happening.
Yes. If you're on the other side of things, if instead of being like, hey, I'm doing all these dark politics and I want to bring in a silly candy dungeon, if you're like, I love the idea of this, like, evil factory mascot horror thing, but Willy Wonka, though, what?
Yeah.
Then, actually, the older material has you covered there, too, yes. Because in Martira Bay, the Weavers Guild ran horrible sweatshops.
Sure.
And they would,
Checks
you know,
out.
bring in people and, like, basically just paying them via thin rations in a very small cot in order to, you know, apprentice them to the weaving trade. I'm doing my big quotes, which, you know, was just, sweatshop labor. And the head of the Weavers Guild, I believe Stephen Dyer was his name. Dyer is a very on-the-nose name for a weaver.
Weavery kind of name.
But Stephen Dyer had a couple levels of necromancer. And he was like, you know, I could make my overhead even smaller.
Yes.
So he's got his factory full of zombie workers.
Nice.
So that way he doesn't have to feed them. So if you like this idea, but doing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is just too silly, then you could have the, zombie workhouse. And maybe he's got a couple of, like, his foremen who are, like, you know, your more boss monster types.
Yeah.
And if you want to have this whole unraveling the mystery, solving what's going on, then maybe there's something or other he's doing that you've got something that'll allow you to, like, put all of his zombies to rest, or, like, maybe there are a couple of them that you can still save. Like, you can have some kind of mystery there where you can, like, have it be a little bit more than a zombie bash, monster mash sort of thing. And then you can have your horrible exploitive factory that doesn't have Oompa Loompas in it. And then the last thing I have in here, we have Borka. Now you can cross off your other thing on your Rachel bingo card, which is Shadow Fae.
Bingo. I got bingo.
So, you had mentioned, I don't know if we mentioned it on mic or not, or if it was something that you were coming up with for the adventure.
Yeah.
But you had the idea that the Oompa Loompas don't have shadows.
Right.
And that could be a clue that, like, the unknown is their shadows.
Right.
And that, of course, sent my brain straight to the Shadow Fae.
Right, as it would.
As it would. Because if you listen to our Brave episode, then you heard Azalin's thing about, like, the Shadow Fae, when they make changelings, they preserve you by taking away all of these little human foibles and leaving behind something that they see as perfect, and it's just awful. And a big thing with though is that if they find somebody who is a really absolute master craftsman in their field, like, you know, you find somebody who is just, say, the best chocolatier who has ever lived, they're going to die someday. And that is such a waste. We're going to lose all of their chocolate making abilities. So wouldn't it be better to kind of preserve them like a pressed flower in a book, and that way we have their chocolate making abilities forever? And so that was a big part of what their changeling thing was. They would cut off your shadow, they'd leave you there, they'd take your shadow back to the Shadow Rift with them, and your shadow would just sit there and work forever. And, you know, you were totally happy to do that because you were just this empty husk. And the Shadow Fae saw it as doing this tremendous favor because, you know, you were still able to create forever and it wouldn't be lost at the end of your pathetically small mortal lifespan. And so you could do something maybe with Willy Wonka bringing in some of that Shadow Fae imagery, that maybe when he turned the Oompa Loompas into Oompa Loompas, he had, like, the silver sickle into the sand that the Shadow Fae used to chop off shadows. And, like, you could have all this face that maybe, like, he made a bargain with the Shadow Fae or something. And just, you could bring in all of that imagery, and especially if you wanted to tie this into a wider Feywild campaign or creepy fairy tale campaign, which you know I'm all about.
And finally, our way of connecting it to not so much older material as slightly older material is not from me or from Rachel. This actually was something people were talking about and suggesting in our Discord.
Our Discord is so excited about this episode because the thing with Listener's Choice is that they've known this is coming for months. So
it's not just normally the 1 month to find out what the next one is. They've known this one since April, basically, or May. So that is a connection with Curse of Strahd. Now, I feel safe assuming that more of you listening right now are familiar with the plot events of Curse of Strahd than with Borka or the Shadow Fae. But
or workhouses in Martirabat.
Which is good because I don't want to go into a lot of detail because I don't want to do another Aging Up warning. But anyway, in Curse of Strahd there are these dream pies, and the production of those pies involves hags abducting children. And
you pick up what we're putting down.
The suggestion was, what if they're actually getting, like, the secret dream pie ingredient from Wonka, and they're sending the children to the factory. They have, like, a golden ticket or portal or something that goes to the factory, and then he's running them through the factory. And the great thing here is, number one, it's a chance to tie it into Curse of Strahd. Number two, it would be a chance to, like, save those children.
Yes.
And to be able to save them and bring them back home.
Which Tom always does.
Yes.
Because we don't play around with that stuff.
And that it also then kind of gives you a really interesting twist, especially Curse of Strahd's pretty well-known campaign now. This would be a real out-of-left-field twist for a group to suddenly you're doing the whole Hag's Dream Pie story, and you're like, yes, yes, yes. And then it's like, Willy Wonka? Oompa Loompas.
They're being sent to a land of pure imagination.
Which does have the negative there, which is this would be quite a shift. This would be quite a tonal and aesthetic shift to go from, you know, medieval theme park, Romania-like theme park, Universal Epic Universe, Dark Universe, Curse of Strahd to Willy Wonka's factory. But for the right group, this might be a super fun side quest. Mm-hmm. Speaking of the challenges of a Willy Wonka adjacent Curse of Strahd side quest, let's wrap up our parting thoughts talking about overall some of the strengths and challenges of running an adventure connected to Willie McDuff's Candy Factory. And strengths. It is a great dungeon, as we mentioned. Just this is Dungeons and Dragons lends itself very well to the kind of story and play that's going to be generated by going through this factory and trying to, like, fight your way out. It is really widely known story, it's a very widely known beloved children's story, so you get that kind of Mascot horror juice juxtaposition of childhood and horror, but it's not out of nowhere, because I believe it was the Honest trailer for the Gene Wilder movie describes his Saw for kids.
Yes.
So, like, most people have picked up, there is this very dark, very horrifying edge to the story. So you're not just, like, taking Dora the Explorer and making her a demon or whatever. You're taking something that's already there and just spotlighting it and exaggerating it just a little bit. Mascot horror, as we mentioned, weirdly perfect for Ravenloft. It's location-based, which is great for D&D, it gives you kind of the dungeon crawl. It's very much based on investigation, on discovery, on finding what happened in the past, this environmental storytelling. It has that, like, edge of tragedy to the monsters that a lot of your, like, great Gothic stories have. And just overall, this really, bizarrely enough, fits a Ravenloft adventure potentially quite well. Now, what about some of the challenges?
But it's also so inherently silly.
Yes,
it's Willy Wonka. Like,
Doopity-doo. Like, your PCs will do a little Oompa Loompa song.
They will. And, like, just try running a horror game and saying Oompa Loompa. And it's so silly. It's so silly. And, yeah. The body horror is a lot more extreme than we usually do. And, you know, that even if you're a group that's comfortable with body horror, again, putting that in Willy Wonka kind of seems like inherently goofy edgelord, just like the juxtaposition. Like
the robot chicken sketch.
Exactly. Like, it because it does come by it honestly. It absolutely comes by it honestly. But it feels kind of silly and kind of juvenile. And just, if that's not what you want to do, which if it is what you want to do, have so much fun. Have this amazing splatterpunk candy session. It's going to be great. But if you do want to play up the horror and the tragedy, that's going to be a very difficult needle to thread because, like, again, number one, it's Willy Wonka and Oompa Loompas. It's silly. And number two, like, this is going to be engaging with some pretty heavy themes. You know, these are kids. This is horrible body horror happening to kids, and the party is going to cope by laughing. Like, that's what's going to happen. Yeah. So you got to be prepared for that. It's such a specific and limited story. It's a similar issue to what we had with Home Alone. This is not only a single dungeon, it's a single dungeon with very limited goals and with only one exit. Like, you gotta find the Great Glass Elevator, you get out that way. Like, these are the main rooms. Just, it's a much, I think, you know, even a more limited dungeon than Home Alone was, because then at least you could play around with the traps. Right,
or you could, like, choose how you move through the house, whereas this is very much, it's room to room to room to room.
Like, other than adding some of your own rooms and making up some of your own kids, there aren't really ways to make this your own. You've got Violet Beauregard, you've got Veruca Salt. Like, if you're doing a Willy Wonka factory, your players are going to want you to play the hits. And that's 4 or 5 hits, depending on whether or not you have Charlie. That doesn't give you a whole lot of room for other hits. But, yeah, I think overall, If you have the right group and you go in with the right mindset, this could be a blast.
Absolute blast. As we said, fantastic, goofy side quest.
Yes.
So, before we rejoin our narrator and find out where she's going next, which a lot of you already know if you were following our Listener's Choice fundraiser, because it is going to be our second Listener's Choice chosen fundraiser domain.
Yes. As a reminder for those of you who might be new or who might have forgotten because it was almost a year ago, November is our regular Listener's Choice episode. We had a fundraiser for the Catholic Legal Immigration Network in February, and if we hit our fundraising goal, then we were going to do a second Listener's Choice episode. We did because you guys are awesome.
Yep.
Thank you all so much.
Donated.
Yeah, we are planning on running another fundraiser in winter to, TBD. And the Listener's Choice episode you picked for that is the one that is coming up now, which is not Disney in any way, so...
Not in any way.
Not in any way. Also, next month is a show, and it's a very long show, so we will once again have a watch list after the credits.
But before, those of you that were not following that along, find out what completely non-Disney property won that second round of Listener's Choice voting, how can they contact us if they want to tell us about the various Roald Dahl referencing new mutant room guardian children they could think of.
Or about your board game.
Well,
you can email us at wonderfulworldofdarklords@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Tumblr, or Patreon at Wonderful World of Darklords. And on YouTube, we're just Wonderful World of Darklord.
As I have mentioned several times, and this could fairly be described as a commercial of an episode.
Not as bad as Headless Horseman.
No. There is I have done a full Willy Wonka inspired dungeon adventure, which is hopefully available on DM's Guild as this episode drops. There's a 50% off for the first month link in the show notes, coupon. And if you like that, if you like our thoughts on adapting it, I also have a number of other horror movies that I've adapted into one-shot adventures. You may have heard Headless Horseman just now. And I have a couple of others.
Toy Story episode had this exact same thing. Yep. We started making the episode and you were like, I need to make an adventure.
I have the whole adventure popped into my head. So you can check those out. There's the link in the show notes to this one. And if you just look more by this author, search for Tom Kohler at DM's Guild, you'll find some of those options. And if you like our consideration for the children, the delicate sensibilities of children that might find really thinking about this very hard quite upsetting, then we also have a couple of resources for running more spooky or horror themed adventures for younger players, also on DM's Guild.
And then speaking of spooky things for young people, I have a picture book, Mother Ghost, Nursery Rhymes for Little Monsters. It's exactly what it sounds like, 13 classic nursery rhymes rewritten to be about Halloween. And I also have several short stories for adults on my website, www.rachelkohler.com. I don't think any are about a chocolate factory, sadly.
Evil magic candy.
Evil magic candy, no.
But maybe they are. Go check and find out. Go read them all and check. Until next time, thank you for listening, and happy gaming.
Parting thoughts. It seems that, even with no one but mindless thralls and bestial monstrosities in his service, Wonka cannot secure loyalty within his factory. While they may not be selling his secrets to rival chocolatiers, his creatures bridle at his control. It would not surprise me if they eventually find other ways to sabotage his operations. The Great Glass Elevator crashed somewhere just outside of Valaki. I hope the Barovians enjoy figuring out what to make of it. I, took the opportunity to sleep while I was there, as I had not been able to do so since acquiring the golden ticket. And, the less said of my dreams, the better. I must not have tied myself securely enough to the bed, for I woke up sitting at my desk, my heart racing and my face wet with tears. This curative you mentioned? I assume that others have used it before me. Is there anything about it that should concern me? Is it entirely safe? Of course. Even if not. Losing the ability to sleep hardly seems like a significant change at this point. I would rather have sleepless nights without these dreams than sleepless nights with them. At any rate, I'm preparing to travel to the next domain on my itinerary now that I'm no longer waylaid by enchanted candy. It seems that the pen I am using as a mist talisman functions particularly well when activated by specific words. Mist! Power! Make up! Regards, D.
As my little servant so kindly demonstrated to Wonka, minions under magical subjugation are as useless as color-changing caramels. Certainly, mindless drones are practical for menial tasks, but they are not suited for long-term employment. If all it took was a name and a few kind words to turn his creations against him, well, his supposed dominion over them is weak. Though I cannot discount my scholar's natural charm and endearing persona. Wonka is truly a waste of magical potential, mastering the art to create sweets, most of which do nothing more than feed his own vanity, though I have been tempted to send some of the flavor-changing sweets to Ivan Delisnia of Borka to see what he would make of them. It is well that your excursion was not prolonged, for a certain Grand Vizier is closing in on my target. Perhaps there is more than empty air beneath his oversized headdress. You landed in Barovia. To see the look on von Zarovich's face as he attempts to puzzle out how a glass elevator arrived in his little mud slump of a domain. I would not linger there long, little witch. The Count has a particular fondness for compassionate redheads. As for your dreams, I assure you, it is perfectly safe. What I offer is not to take away your ability to rest, but render it unnecessary. You may still sleep if you desire it, or you may spend that time in quiet contemplation instead. It would be your decision. The inability to sleep, to close one's eyes and rest, that is not a gift, it is a curse, one I would not bestow upon any but my greatest enemies.
Dear Father, I have not yet completed my report to Azalin, having just arrived from Wonka's factory. It seems that the factory and its golden tickets are not a cautionary tale to frighten children against overindulging in sweets, but are entirely real. I shall of course send the report to you when it is finished. I saw nothing that could be mistaken for an infinity stone, nor did Wonka have any powers beyond the ken of a particularly skilled arcanist. However, his use of enchanted slaves has potential applications for my subjugation and that of future conquests, although it would, of course, require refinement, as Wonka has been unable to entirely eradicate the wills of his workers. As previously mentioned, the strength which drew your attention to me is an impediment to my obedience. Azalin possesses my genuine loyalty, freely given. Our relationship began as a mutually beneficial contract agreed upon by both parties. Over time, he earned my respect, and, for all my protestations to the contrary, my trust and affection as well. I did not agree to my service to you, and at this time your only tools in subduing me are a magical compulsion when I am away from your presence, and pain and fear should I return to you, tools which I will instinctively resist. Any successful attempt to bring me entirely to heel will necessitate breaking the very spirit that you wish to harness. You could make of me a thrall, but not a daughter. To that end, the most fruitful course of action would be to modify my memories as you saw fit. You did not raise me as your own daughter, but with the enchantment stone you could make me believe that you did. The ferocity of devotion and trust owed to my family would be yours, for you would be the only family I knew. However, Without the enchantment stone, a spell such as Modify Memory would be impractical for such a long-term project, as it can replace only a handful of memories at a time. Should this prove impossible, the only feasible way to continue making use of me would be to crush my will entirely. A method such as that employed in the factory might allow you to accomplish this with myself and other prisoners. Potentially even bringing us into the Chitauri hive mind. Thus, even if you could not fully oh. You would have in me a tool that was far less useful, but at least you would not need to destroy that tool entirely. To this end, I recommend procuring a few of Wonka's servants for experimentation. Hail Thanos. D. This has been The Wonderful World of Darklords. We have no affiliation with Disney or Wizards of the Coast. All music recordings used in this episode are in the public domain and were obtained through museopen.org. Titles and links are in the show notes. Dialogue for Yensid was written by Aslan Rex himself, who you can follow on Tumblr at Darklord Aslan. The Wonderful World of Darklords logo was designed by Haylight Jones. You can find links to their work in the show notes. If you'd like to support the show, look for us on patreon.com or find our tip jar on Red Circle. Thanks for listening. Hello, dear listeners. So yes, per our second listener's choice poll, our episode next month is going to be Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon is a very long show with very many iterations, so we need a watch list for this one more than ever. Fortunately, Quartz, who was the one who nominated Sailor Moon in the first place, said, I think that Queen Beryl should be the Dark Lord. She's the iconic Sailor Moon character. And we said, yes, absolutely. Number one, you're right. Number two, that means we only have to watch one season. Not that we're, opposed to watching Sailor Moon because it's Sailor Moon, but just because there's so much of it. There are other things out there that we need to watch. So, for this episode, we relied heavily on a link that is going to be in the show notes. It's a list on Medium of the required, recommended, and total filler episodes of Sailor Moon. We watched all the required episodes and also episode 11 and 31, which were filler, but they were fun. So if you just watch those, you will have watched as many episodes as we watched. You will not be missing anything. If you're watching and you're like, okay, the show isn't really for me, but I do want to have a strong idea of what they're talking about, you're probably okay just watching one episode from each arc to kind of get a flavor of each mid-boss's strategy, and then the final arc. And then Tom also watched Sailor Moon Crystal because there's some extra backstory stuff from the manga about Beryl in there. But since I didn't watch Crystal, he has to explain it to me on mic. So if you want to watch Crystal to be all caught up with Tom, you can. But if not, again, he had to explain this stuff to me, so he'll be explaining it to you too. Also, while I'm doing announcements, for those of you who donated to the fundraiser, thank you so much. We have, as of this recording, raised $462 for the Capital Area Food Bank, which, guys, thank you so much. You guys are so generous and awesome, and it's amazing. For those of you who have donated, $462 means that we have gotten to one horror movie minisode, and we're $38 away from a second one. So if you have donated, then go ahead and let us know what horror movie you're interested in us doing. You can go for all of our usual contact stuff. Email us at Wonderful World of Darklords, contact us via Patreon DMs, contact us through our YouTube comments. Ethan Bynan already submitted a couple of AMA questions via YouTube comments, so that's a thing. Tumblr, Facebook, however you want to get your nominations for horror movie minisodes to us, go ahead. And then we'll get a poll together and have everyone vote on them. Speaking of AMA questions, if you donated, you also get to submit AMA questions. So let us know what you want to ask, what are your burning questions, and whether you want us to field those particular questions stoned or sober. So thank you all so much again for your generosity. The fundraiser is still open until the end of November. It's not too late to donate. Please, anything you can give. And once again, if you want to donate to your local food pantry instead, send us a screenshot, let us know. Actually, Tom and I haven't done our charitable donation for the month of November yet. So if you want to donate to, like, Feeding America or your local food pantry or something, then send us a screenshot and we can actually, we'll try to match that up to about $150 in the Wonderful World of Darklords fundraiser. Should be like showing up on there on the little progress bar and everything. So yeah, we're gonna be sending it over to the Capital Area Food Bank anyway, but this time it'll be like going into the little progress bar and ticking off that little dopamine rush for everybody. So thank you all so much again. Thank you for donating. Thank you for listening. Happy gaming, and Hail Thanos.